Yes, yes, yes. It is the CastWorthy Podcast, and we are back. It is Super Bowl Sunday, February. What's today? 11th. Sunday, February 11th, Super Bowl Sunday, and there's a lot going on. There's a lot going on. We got Super Bowl stuff to cover. We got other stuff to cover. It's been a wild week. But before we get started. I am Big Steve, aka Last of a Dying Breed, on the X Machine, joined by EJ the Savage today, and the VP, or self-proclaimed king, sort of like LeBron of research. And we're here to chat with you guys, a little conversation. Where we can be found a little bit everywhere. You know, look for us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, streaming platforms that you can think of: iHeart, Spotify, Spreaker, Apple Podcasts. Just look for us. CastWorthy, CastWorthy, and we are there. Let's get started, gentlemen. How has your week been leading up to the Super Bowl?
Pretty good for me. How about you?
It's been somber.
Why is that?
Well, because football season is coming to an end, my friend.
Facts.
You know, the one time of the year that I really look forward to outside of Christmas. Like, I love Christmas, December, Sag season. What up? You know, outside of December, but you know, just that span of time from kickoff, the first week of September to, you know, now is the greatest time of the year. Always is. And you know, now we got to go into hot summers and fucking hurricanes and, you know, crackheads for you up in DC or in Baltimore. You know, I guess
Yeah,
it's kind of
wow.
bearable in the winter because they in the, you know, they got to stay inside. But you know,
It's actually worse because so many abandoned houses out here. You know, they take shelter in there, and fires and stuff like that. So yeah, the
I gotta
winter's bad.
I gotta make my way up there, man. We was
You
trying to come up there next month,
saying that for
and
15 years.
we was trying to come up there next month, but JetBlue just had a sale this week, man. Shout out to JetBlue. They think they slick. These motherfuckers was like, yo, $49 flights. I'm like, oh shit, all right. I go in there. Oh, it's only $49 to get into Washington. All right, we go see, you know, some of these statues and shit. Make our way to Baltimore, see EJ, you know, and then, you know, quick trip for spring break. All right, well, how much is it to get back to Orlando? Oh, okay. I see what you guys are doing. It's $289 per person to fly back. So you're going to let me leave, but to come back, you're going to charge me out the ass. Thanks, Joe. Oh, this is all Joe Biden's fault. Oh, man. Yeah, or Trump, or somebody. It's somebody's fault. It ain't my fault. I'll tell you that. Fuck. So it was like Tuesdays. I read the fine print. It's really, I guess it is my fault because I didn't read the fine print. The low fares was Tuesday and Thursday. So you either got to stay a week somewhere, or you got to fly in on like a Tuesday, leave on Thursday, fly in on Thursday, leave on Tuesday for it to make sense. And you know, the normal individual just, you know, that ain't realistic. So
Right.
you know,
Right.
but other than that, yeah, we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out.
Indeed.
VP, you have any fun this week?
Nah, man. I'm just you know, normal shit. Work, doctor's appointments.
Anything to brag about from a Democratic standpoint? No.
I mean, Biden won the Nevada primary.
That's special?
No.
I mean, I just figured he was asking what was going on. So you know.
In other news, water is wet.
I couldn't recall about Nevada, so I didn't know.
Yeah, Trump won the Nevada caucus, but it was on some fuck shit they did. So,
of course,
he probably would have won it anyway. But it's just they essentially rigged it to make sure he won it.
Yeah, he was gonna win it anyway. Trump going I mean, listen, Trump's gonna be the nominee.
Nah, I mean, it's no doubt that he'll be the nominee, but I mean, like if you're such a strong candidate, why do you need to rig the process to only let Trump be on the ballot? Like, I mean, that's essentially what they do in like North Korea. Like, only Kim Jong Un is on the ballot, and then he brags about getting 100% of the vote.
Well, that's like Lamar Jackson. Somebody rigged the ballot there. Motherfucking MVP. Huh. Huh.
That's
Huh.
wild.
That's
That's
right.
wild. I
That is
forgot about
extreme.
that. I forgot to add
That's
that to the list.
Yeah, that's
The whole,
extremely
that
wild.
whole award season has just been insane to me.
Mhm.
Like, like the whole thing with the way the votes are weighted as far as the first place and second place votes and things like that.
Mhm.
And then I thought one, DeMar Hamlin being a nominee for comeback player of the year was complete bullshit. Like, to be a comeback player, you have to be a player. This dude plays special teams. And that's it.
No, he played in the playoffs.
Yeah, but I mean, he's not like an every down player. He's like, oh, this guy needed some rest, so we're gonna put him in for a play, maybe two. I mean, he might see 5 snaps a game, not including special teams.
They did it as a feel good story. That's what that was.
Yeah, but I mean, the feel good story was all the money to the charity and all that stuff like that last year. Like, him being nominated for this award was complete. But like in my mind, when you do shit like that, it takes the meaning away from the award.
Most definitely. The feel good story was him coming back to play as it was. I mean,
Right.
It's already been passed. I thought, not to be biased, but I thought Brees Hall had a pretty good season, considering he tore his knee up last year. And the yards and the stats and things like that. So I mean, he was one of the lowest votes. So
right. Like, you actually
Flacco shouldn't have been there.
Flacco shouldn't have been there either. Like, Brees Hall and Tua, like, those are your, like, they should have been battling out for comeback player of the year.
Tony Pollard.
You have one dude who tore up his knee. The other dude missed 8 games due to
Tony Pollard
concussion.
blew his knee out.
But he didn't have that good. He didn't have as good of a season as those other two.
Right, but and when you talk about nominations, you can't just put 2 people in a category.
No, I got what you're saying. I'm
not saying
like,
Tony Pollard should have won, but he should have been a nomination. Yeah,
gotcha.
I don't think he shouldn't have even been a top nomination, but yeah, I think it should have been between Brees Hall and Tua, no question. Not even close. And yeah, I think Brees Hall realistically probably should have got it, in my opinion, because he had less to work with. And he's in a position where he doesn't start every possession with the ball, right? So I think for a quarterback, it's a little bit biased for them to get that type of award, because they don't have to do anything except show up. All you have to do is be there, and you're going to get snaps and stay healthy, right? With a running back, you got to get plays called, you got to make plays and stuff like that. Wide receiver, similarly, you got to get open to get the ball. Defenders, you got to make it happen. And again, Tua, he's coming off concussions, and he played last year. He ended the season playing. So
No,
he didn't end the season playing.
No.
Oh, then he deserves to be in the conversation.
Yeah, definitely could be either one of those guys. Just depending on how you sliced it.
Right.
Yeah, but I guess if you
been Flacco, a guy who played 5 games,
right, especially not flat. Yeah, whatever. I don't want to talk about it anymore. What other Dak was
offensive player.
That got nothing. He got
CMC was offensive player of the year.
Yeah, Dak got snubbed for Brock Purdy for what is it, air some shit or another. Fucking, I'll tell you 1 second. So it was for FedEx Air Player of the Year. Brock Purdy got it over Dak Prescott.
So I'm assuming that's a quarterback award.
That's a quarterback award. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, again, in that conversation, yeah, Dak I would say would be 1 and 2 would be 2.
Mm-hmm. Myles Garrett got Defensive Player of the Year. I don't think there was any question there, right?
I didn't think there was a question, but I did think that he kind of cooled off. He cooled off during the end of the year.
He did,
especially when it counted. TJ Watt, his numbers are crazy to me. His sack numbers are crazy, pause. But yeah,
he's crazy in the sack. Hey, yo. Bosa, Nick, and Joey both had good years. But Myles Garrett almost, I mean, he was on track to break the record, and like VP said, he slowed down. So, but I think he still ended with the most sacks. And one might say that Cleveland doesn't make the playoffs without Myles Garrett on defense.
They don't.
I mean, that defense in general, but he made some pretty big plays. Much more impactful, I think, than a lot of the other guys. TJ Watt was also impactful, I think, because that offense was absolute dog shit. But you know, and Pittsburgh won a lot of games where it was like they scored 11 points and shit. Like it's crazy. That fucking AFC North division, that the defense is wild, yo. Yeah. Wild.
Yeah.
That shit is crazy. What other awards did we miss? Who got what's the one I'm thinking?
Offensive Rookie of the Year was Stroud.
That's what I was thinking, the 2 rookies. And then Houston got the other one, didn't they? They got the Defensive Rookie of the Year too.
Yeah, Will McDonald.
Cleaned up like the Jets did last year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Right. You know what's crazy is though, like I'm looking at the I pulled it up and to just come back to the comeback player of the year thing again. Damar Hamlin received 21 first place votes out of the 50 votes. 21 first place for a guy who barely plays. And then Flacco got 13 first place votes, but then Flacco got a hell of like a bunch more second place votes. That's how he ends up winning, because first place votes counts for 3 points and second place votes counts as 2 points. So Flacco is essentially able to edge him by getting more second place votes than he received. And then going down to like what we were talking about as far as, you know, like a Breece Hall. I don't even think Breece Hall was in consideration, or if he was, he didn't get any votes. And
he got 3 votes. Like I think one like third place vote, or one, it was something 1 to 3 I saw.
Yeah, he didn't get any first place votes, because the other people who received first place votes was Tua, who got 4, Matt Stafford got 1, and Brock Purdy got 1. This shit is it's insane.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, I don't know who does the voting, but we talked about it last week. Some of that shit, it needs to change. Like they need to. I mean, I know Stephen A gets a vote. You know, there's guys like that get votes that just can't be. They can't be unbiased. Like I don't care what anybody says. These people are not unbiased. I think you leave it in the hands of the coaches, leave it in the hands of the players or the owners or whatever, right? I mean, owners even still probably not, because it brings money. Your guy wins MVP, you fill seats. So maybe not so much owners, but you got to find some way, like some way.
That's why the NFL player, 100 list is more respectable, because it's the players voting who they think the top 100 players are, So outside of, obviously outside of the positional awards, I think that's the most important thing. But you're right, and the bias is crazy, and it's always been there. It's always been in sports. I mean, even Mike Greenberg, as a Jets fan, he's probably the one writer that voted for Breece Hall. But I never could respect sports media from the standpoint, and I'm glad we're getting a lot more athletes into the field now, because I just never could respect the fact that these people are experts on something they've never done in their life. Like, I could see if they
Right.
played at some level or some point, but it's like, me telling Ben Carson how he performed open heart surgery, like, or Sanjay
Right.
Gupta on his medical
Brain
expertise. Like,
brain
just
surgery.
doesn't make sense.
He's a brain
Yeah,
surgeon.
but VP tries to tell Trump how to be a president, and he's never been president before.
No, no, that's not apples
We
to
live
oranges.
we live in
Yeah.
a world of criticism, and unfortunately, the criticism comes from everyday Joes, people sitting on the couch, right? Monday morning quarterbacks in every situation. That's us criticizing Joe Biden. That's VP and the Democratic people that are not actual politicians criticizing Republicans. That's football players being criticized by us fat fucks sitting around saying, "I can't believe he couldn't catch that ball. Like he couldn't
I
make
think
that
it's
tackle." You
I
know what I
think it's
mean? Like,
different though, right? Like EJ said, it's not. I don't think it's apples to apples, right? And what I
Just
mean by that is that like when you talk about like politics, for example, it's one thing to say I think they should have done this right to reach this policy goal, right? So like we talk about student loans, right? EJ says they should forgive all student loans. I said okay, I'm fine with them doing the 20 grand or whatever it was. That's just a small. We both agree on what they did. We just disagree on the destination, right? But in the sports media world, right? We have segments like on First Take, for example, since that's like the premier sports show, where they'll say, who has the best offense in the NFL? And Shannon Sharp and Jeff Saturday are like, right now, I think the best offense in the NFL is, KC or whoever they say, because you look at the way the O line blocks, whether it's pass block, run block, blah blah blah. You look at how the quarterback's playing. You look at this, you look at that, blah 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 blah. Right? And then Steve Nagle get up there and was like, "Now listen, as prolific as Shannon Sharp and Jeff Saturday are, and who am I to question them, right? And because them brothers played,
you sound
okay.
like
But but if you ask me, right now, I have to say that the best offense in the NFL is the Pittsburgh Steelers, because if you look at the way that brother Mike Tomlin's coaching, and it's like, the fuck is this dude talking about?
You sound just like him. To your point, and the other point about it is, even in politics, even in political forums, when you have the biggest outlets, at times you get people that get political correspondence that may have worked in politics. You often may get that, right? In sports media, especially the biggest platforms, a lot of these people that are quote unquote experts on stuff never played the game. So it's one thing to have everyday Joe opinions. We know that. But when you have the biggest avenues or outlets for sports media that influences, in this case, influences the awards and accolades that these guys get, i.e. Hall of Fame votes, i.e. Yearly awards, these things are coming from people that are hailed to be experts but have never played the game. So it's like you're telling us on this large scale that this person is this and that, but you've never thrown a football in your life. I mean, I could even respect Stephen A to the standpoint that he played, he played high school, maybe he wasn't good. He played some college, he wasn't good. But I mean, the man at least picked up a basketball before. You got Joy Taylor, where the closest thing to football she's ever been was playing with her big brother at some point. Like, you didn't play the game.
now that the season's over,
I'd rather hear
and
from Monica McNutt about basketball, because
hey yo,
she was a top D1 basketball player. You know what I'm saying? And she could play the game. I'd rather see the WNBA girls up there talking about the game because they played pro. You know what I mean? Like, it just doesn't make sense to me. And this is why we get comeback of the year being Joe Flacco, because you got some writer that's happy that Joe came off the couch and it was a great story and they almost got a chance to play the Ravens. It's bullshit.
Right, because
The-
because they're looking at it like, how does this play? You know what I mean? Like how does it, how does this move the needle if we were putting it in a newspaper or putting it on a TV segment or something like that? People are this is a feel good story, versus this is the right outcome. And and you look at that, right? They did a I can't remember the organization, but some organization did these same awards, like except for MVP, but offensive player, rookie of the year, comeback, blah blah blah, all that kind of stuff like that. And all of the votes that they used to tabulate these winners were all players, and the results are drastically different. And they had Tua as comeback player of the year. They had Tyreek as offensive player of the year. I would disagree with them. CMC got second, but I would have flipped that and gave it to CMC. And I'm not sure where CeeDee Lamb was, and I didn't see the reporting on that, like on the whole tally. I just saw that Tyreek edged CMC on offensive player of the year, and then CJ rookie of the year. They did have Miles as a defensive player of the year, etc. But these were all players, and to EJ's point about these writers, this everything that he's saying, all that logic that he's talking about with these guys, this is how we get T.O. having to wait a year or two to go into the Hall of Fame. A guy who is top 5 in every wide receiver category that exists has to it's not a first ballot Hall of Famer. And it's insane because these guys who know nothing about the sport, they see themselves as like some kind of like protector of the kingdom or whatever, where they got to make sure the right people get in and all this kind of crap like that or whatever. And fans watch it and it feel like you're essentially doing a disservice to the game,
The Pete Roses, Barry
Right.
Bonds,
yeah,
it's
but those guys were. I mean, Pete Rose is a different story. That was a whole different time. I mean, now we live in a time where the biggest sporting event of the year is in Las Vegas, with probably the most bets going out ever in history, throughout the United States, over the world, better yet. So
But that's the point, Steve, right? Because these people who vote are people like Bob Ryan, who's like almost an 80-year-old journalist. Woody Harrelson, who works for the Denver Post, who's like an 80-something. These guys they don't change in their way of thinking. You know what I'm saying? So it's the same thing. Like you were talking about politics earlier, right? It's the same thing here, where you have politicians who are writing the laws, who are people like Nancy Pelosi, who's 80-something years old, or this other politician like Chuck Grassley from Iowa, who's 92 or whatever. You know what I mean? And so when you tell these people, hey, marijuana should probably be legal, they're like, oh, I don't, back in my day, you know what I mean? And it's how we get these dumbass results that the law or the voting, when we talk about player awards and things like that, don't match the reality of where the world is. Because just like you said, the Super Bowl is in Las Vegas. There's a football team in Las Vegas. The NFL, as well as the owners and teams on their own, are partnered with gambling houses, whether it's a FanDuel or these other betting platforms, right? They're all entangled with each other in this shit. But the people who vote for Hall of Fame are like, well, man, we can't let Pete Rose in. I mean, come on, what are we talking about here? And it's like, did you not see that Major League Baseball is partnered with FanDuel? Like, what the fuck are we talking about here?
Yeah, and for the record, is Woody Page.
Right, Woody Harrelson.
What did I say?
Woody Harrelson.
Right, Woody Page. Yeah, you're right.
I couldn't think of it neither. I was like, yeah, that sounds right. But no, you're absolutely right. I'm looking at Bob Ryan on Around the Horn and Woody Page on Around the Horn, and these dudes, they look like corpses, talking corpses, and they've never played the game. I mean,
Yeah.
Skip, historically, when Skip used to write for the Cowboys, if you read a lot of his old stuff, sounded like a straight bigot at times. And this is why I never liked Will Kane. I never liked Colin Cowherd, because all of these guys are old school classic journalists, and they come from the era where they believe athletes are cavemen. They don't have any ideas, the whole shut up and dribble type mentality. and it's reflected in how they think and how they process things. But yet these people are known as the experts because they've been watching it longer than anyone else. Like it's garbage. It's
On
garbage.
the flip side of it, though, you got assholes like Shady McCoy, right? So you still have people that it's different if Shady was a running back and he came up there and he's giving his opinion. So like a Tom Brady, that video I sent in the chat yesterday, Tom Brady's like, yo, quarterbacks are missing, they're reading the coverage and they're still snapping the ball. If you see that you got your cover two beaters on and you come out and it's man, then why are you not checking to a play that's man? Why are you still snapping the ball? Like that's the type of commentary I would want from a player, and I think that's what you guys are talking about. But I think these networks have to understand that just because this person was a player doesn't also make them an expert. Like Shady, he may be an expert at the position, but he's still a biased piece of shit who gets up there and just he can't remove his emotion from everything he has to say. He has to compare himself to everyone. And I'm not even talking about Cowboys at this point because I know that's what you guys are thinking. I watched a video of him the other day talking about Michael Turner who got in the Pro Bowl over him, and he's like, "Oh, they picked this guy over me because,"
I saw
and
that.
I had 1,500 scrimmage. Get the fuck out of here! You didn't make it. You didn't make the cut. You made it, going on further, but this is not your platform to make it a personal vendetta against other people. You're being paid to be a quote unquote expert. Come out here and do that. And it's the same. And I agree with you. It's the same way with these older guys. It's the same way with a Stephen A. Like, I get it. That's his bread and butter. That's completely different. That's his bread and butter. But for, the Joy Taylors of the world and all of these that come out here and they make it their point to target this one individual, whoever it may be. Skip Bayless with LeBron James, Joy Taylor with Dak Prescott. Like, these guys are just targeting this one person, and the reality of it is these guys are great players. They are very, very. I mean, LeBron is an all-time great. Dak Prescott is looking like he's a very good quarterback, looking like he can be great if he continues to play at this level for the next few years. Like, you can't come out here and throw dirt on these people's names just because you don't like them. People are paying you a lot of money.
No, I agree. I mean, Shady, I think, but that whole show, I mean, that whole network is a problem when you're talking about sports stuff, and that show in itself just needs the bomb dropped on it. Because Acho, again, a guy that played wasn't your all world guy, but he's got players experience. Jennings,
I like
obviously,
Acho.
yeah, I mean, his
He
takes
makes good
sometimes
plays.
are
He makes good
sometimes they're whack to me. Jennings, obviously, I think is the best on that show because he does what Steve says. He
Yeah.
speaks about it from the expert
I'm a wide
standpoint.
receiver.
He's
This is
he's
what
a
wide receivers do. Don't
I
ask me
mean,
about a fucking
not
D
only
line.
not only that though, I'm a champion, and I know what I'm doing and I'm giving you unbiased stuff, right? But it's always going to be some bias, but I can live with that when it's coming from someone who played the game. But to your point about Joy Taylors and these other people, so like having these vendettas, and you're right, you can criticize a Dak Prescott, but you give Jalen Hurts or you give what you call it, Josh Allen or the kid in San Diego, in LA, the kid in LA, Herbert, you give him a pass. And a lot of this stuff sounds biased. And Dak Prescott, I mean, listen, there are times I'm a Dak Prescott fan. I've been a fan of his since he won the Senior Bowl. And I was like, yo, I think this kid's going to be good. I always said that. And I've always been a fan of his. This guy suffered injury, suffered being assaulted early on, which affected his performance, I think, in the combine at some point. And this guy, he can play the football. He can play the game of football. He throws touchdowns. He plays well. Sure, are there moments in time where he could play better and win the game? Absolutely. But we forget it's an 11-on-11 sport. There are other things that happen, coaching decisions that happen. But this guy, Tua, two of the best quarterbacks all year. Sure, they've had bad moments, but you can't praise Justin Herbert the way that you do and not give these guys credit. So again, to your point, man, it sounds nasty at some time.
Nah, you're absolutely right, and that's one thing I like about Acho, because I feel like Acho comes at these things more like looking at it like an analyst, and then he also adds in the the stuff that you need to look at from a football standpoint as a former player, right? Even though he wasn't that great or whatever. And like they had a segment where they were talking about I don't know if the segment was specifically about Herbert, but they were talking about like elite quarterbacks or whatever. And Acho was saying, you guys are telling me that Justin Herbert is elite. And my question to you is where are the wins? You know what I'm saying? And then they were like, oh, it's a team sport, blah, 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 blah. And he was like, yeah, I get all of that. But like, last year he had top 5 defense, his rookie year, he put up all these numbers. And where are the wins? You know what I mean? And if he is so great, why is it not translating into winning? And everybody was telling him he's crazy or whatever, because they're looking at this kid like, oh, this kid, he can throw the ball 300 yards in one throw, and all this kind of shit like that. But it's like, he doesn't win. At the end of the day, Jamarcus Russell could throw the ball 80 yards from his knees. He doesn't win. You know what I mean? So if we're in a league that prides itself on, what have you done for me lately? The guy doesn't win. So why are we giving him all of this praise and talking about him like he's the face of the league or whatever when he doesn't win?
He's in the conversation every year as top. He's in the conversation every year since he's been there. I just think it's disrespectful when you look at a guy like a Dak Prescott with the numbers that he's had, the wins that he gets, the division that he plays in, the strength of schedule, the fact that it's the Cowboys, that everybody in the world hates the Cowboys, and this guy is doing his job majority of the time. It's crazy to me.
Yeah, and not buckling under pressure. Like that's the bigger piece. Like these guys, Romo, Dak, like these are guys that are coming after a Troy Aikman that brought 3 rings, or Roger Staubach, right? These are guys that won, and now these guys have to deal with the pressure of expectations that are extremely high. And for Romo, he got a lot of passes, he was injured and stuff like that. But Dak Prescott, he deals with it, and then he has to also deal with something different that nobody else had to deal with in that situation. He's black, so the criticism is always going to be further, going to be higher for him. I think he smashed Joy Taylor and left her somewhere. And that's probably why she's scorned. Speaking of scorn,
happy Black History Month.
Happy Black History Month. Yo, I'm gonna say something that VP, I didn't have this on my bingo card. VP's gonna call me crazy. Where is the outrage? Kim Kardashian shows her tits. She's out there. She's living scantily clad for all these years, and people are like, your kids are gonna see that one day. I didn't see not one take from anybody. None of these bitches was talking about Drake's son Adonis be on the internet. He might see the Drizzy Glizzy. Drake out here beating off on camera and putting it out on the internet, calling it a leak.
Okay. I did not know.
Where were those takes? You know what the takes were? You know what the timeline looked like? Who got that video? Where that Drizzy? Where that Drizzy? Where that Drake? Send it to me.
Oh, so you're calling out women for being thirsty to see Drake's meat?
I just think we live in a world of double standards. When a woman does something like that, or a woman pops up nude on the internet, people are like, oh, her kids are going to see this one day. But where are those same people when the Drizzy Glizzy came out?
Yeah, I don't know.
I just want to be on the right side of feminism this time. That's all.
So
you got. I
mean, I'm not in the
flabbergasted.
You don't know what to say.
No, because I don't put myself in the category of like your kids are gonna see this one day. If you are comfortable, with that kind of thing, then it's the same thing like with people who do adult films or whatever. At some point they may have kids. They have to know that this kind of stuff may be seen, on the internet or whatever they're using in the future if the internet is no longer a thing at some point.
Remember Black
Yeah.
China a few months ago, people were like, "Oh, they asked her, what do you think if your son sees your OnlyFans? Why would you do this? He's on the internet, right? Like, you question her, and Drake don't got to do this shit. Like, he's the biggest artist. He called it a leak. That ain't no leak. He won't leak that. You know what I'm saying? That's not a leak. You originated or you're not taking those. He's not putting himself in that type of position where, you know what I mean. Like, this man was on a tour bus. He went on his burner account and put it out there.
Yeah, I mean, well, Black China has kind of made a 180 on that whole thing. You know, she's removed surgery and or whatever implants or whatever,
She
and
looked crazy after getting that stuff removed too. I
yeah,
see why
you
she
know,
had it. She need to get it back.
she's turned her life around. So I mean, there is some truth to it because it will impact your kids. You know, if you're not prepared for that stuff. You know, even I believe at one point the
Oh, Amber
Kardashian
Rose
children.
too. Amber Rose was getting heat.
I believe at one point the Kardashian children were, remember Kim was saying something about that? Like
Mm.
Kim was saying something to the
She was
effect like,
crying.
yeah, crying about people talking about the video and stuff like that. So I mean, yeah, I mean, those are one of those things. I mean, to VP's point, if you're comfortable, but when it shakes out years later, and you see the impact on your kids, and they talk to you about it, yeah, it's bad. I just saw an interview with a chick that had OnlyFans, and she was talking about how she had to stop because her son was getting bullied at school. They were literally showing him his mom's like. You listen, you got to be prepared
Back,
for that kind of stuff.
back in the day.
I mean, the
Oh.
thing is that, like, if like let's take the Kim and Drake situation, right? Since that's kind of the crux of what we're talking about. Now, in Kim's situation, originally she claimed this was a leak, and then we later find out. I mean, I don't think any of us ever believed it was a leak, but then later we have it confirmed that it definitely was not a leak, right?
Mhm.
And so it's like you did this to yourself to get what you got. You know what I'm saying? So, like, miss me with the tears about, oh, be my kids, blah, blah, blah. Like, I don't want to hear that shit. You know what I mean? Now, in the Drake situation, now Steve is saying it's not a leak. I haven't seen. I mean, I don't want to see what he's talking about, but but let's assume that it was a leak, right? If something like that happens and your kids see it and it was a leak, then it's like, it's not like you were trying to put that stuff out there. It's just one of those things that kind of happen. But also at the same time, the same way we talk about, like, yo, why this dude don't got no security? Why this dude don't got NDAs or whatever. You have to assume if you're a famous person that this stuff is gonna get out, right? And so it's why, and it sucks to say, like, oh, you're famous, so if you are in a intimate relationship with somebody, you can't send nudes or something like that, because maybe you and your person, y'all like doing that kind of shit or whatever. And I get that, and at the same time, I'm saying it. Like, if you are a celebrity, you can't be sending your boyfriend or girlfriend nudes because that shit is gonna get out. And so you can't take them shits and have them on your phone and like, oh, they're on my phone, they're gonna be protected in my iCloud or whatever the fuck. That shit is gonna get out. So it sucks that you only get to live a partial life, but it is what it is. Like, what have I been saying about politics the last, I don't know, month or so? You can't play in the game you want to be in. You got to play in the game you're in. You know what I'm saying? and that's just the reality of the situation.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well,
Steve,
go ahead.
Steve, before you were gonna talk about the Drizzy Glizzy, who were you gonna say was scorned?
Oh no. I'm gonna I'm gonna let that go. I transitioned off of that. I'm being In 2024, I'm changing the way I approach things. I'm gonna let you be the messy one before I indulge.
Oh boy.
See, he's being like he's taking that advice that Andy Card gave George Bush. Andy Card was George Bush's chief of staff, and he said he used to always tell George Bush when he was president, because of how consequential the things a president says are, you should taste your words before you speak them. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, he's trying to be Joe Budden, but like Joe Budden, that shit ain't gonna last. He already did. He already called Shady a piece of shit.
Yeah, but that's different. He is. Shady is a piece of shit. He's a woman beater. Like, come on, dude. That's like saying Tyreek ain't a piece of shit. This dude beats kids. Like abuses kids. Not like, oh, you were a bad kid today. Let me get the belt. Your school called. Let me spank you. Pause. This is abuse. Hey, open up your chest. Don't put your arms down or I'm gonna make it worse. Like, come on, dog. To a fucking 3-year-old.
Shady incident.
Let me just to kind of throw a lifeline here to Steve. Let me add in for him allegedly.
What's alleged?
I don't think Tyreek's ever been convicted of anything that
the audio came out. They played the audio. Let me guess. That just sounded like him. Get the fuck out of here. And he was convicted, by the way. We could always go back to that if you want. Matter of fact, don't worry. I'll find it. I'll send it to you afterwards. We'll see how that.
I mean, you can't. I'm
your
saying
view
based
of
on top of my head memory. I don't remember there being a conviction, so that's why I'm throwing out an allegedly for you.
Because they didn't put it on MSNBC.
No, I know the incident you're talking about. I'm just saying
Shady was in Buffalo, and not only that,
the Shady thing happened in Florida. I think.
No, I think it was
when he was in Buffalo. You mean
when he was in Buffalo? Yeah. What else, EJ? What'd you have on the topic list? Since you got me off topic talking about child abusers. Child abusers turned Dolphins fan heroes.
I didn't say nothing about that guy.
remember all this shit? Yo, Dolphins fans are crazy. Remember, Ndamukong Suh was like, he was like the Thanos of the world, and then he goes to Miami and is like, he's a saint. He's our savior. He's our hero.
It's funny that you say that, because me and my brother were literally having this conversation like a week ago. And he was like, yo, man, remember you used to hate Ndamukong Suh and then he came to Dolphins? I was like, yo, fan is short for fanatic. You know what I mean? Like, I thought Ndamukong Suh was the biggest piece of shit. He came to the team. That was my guy. That's why when people were talking about the Dolphins pursuing Brady, I was like, please don't let him come to the team. Like, I don't like.
Oh, you'd have been torn.
I was like, I don't know if my hate for Tom Brady and me being a Dolphins fan can exist in the same person. You know what I mean?
Let me tell you something. If Tom Brady was a Jet, I don't give two shits. It's just like these stupid Knicks fans out here. Like, New York fans, it's crazy. Like, when the LeBron rumors, obviously we probably believe it's not going to happen. But these cats are going on their platforms. Nah, LeBron, it's too late. It was too late. You made the Miami move. Nigga, if LeBron came to the Knicks right now, mail me the motherfucking championship right now. Are you kidding me? I'll take LeBron James in a heartbeat. Stop the bullshit. LeBron on your team gives you a 40 to 45% chance to win even more in any organization he goes to, because he can make anybody around him better, even at this age. Cut the bullshit, Knicks fans.
Especially on a team that's already winning.
Yeah.
The Knicks. Knicks fans are delusional, though. Y'all are crazy. Y'all, wow. I seen some posts. Yo, I was like, these same Knicks fans, and not you, EJ, but these same Knicks fans be the ones that be in football season like, Cowboys fans are crazy. Cowboys fans, how you won a game? What are you so happy about? Knicks go on a little run, 9-game win streak. They're like, yo, if we could keep this up for the next 25 games, you'll never hear the end of my. the fuck off my timeline. Like,
bro.
they
But
be
part of it
I
part
hate
of
it
it
even
is
more because the media starts to jump on our nuts. I
that's
hate it.
exactly what I was getting ready to say.
And it happens every time, and it's like a curse. As soon as fucking Jalen Brunson's on Jimmy Fallon and all this other shit, now we got like 4 months. Like, oh, leave us the fuck alone. But it, it's New York. I don't know.
It comes with the territory. Y'all got you got the freaking celebrity row right up front. You know what I'm saying? So everybody goes to New York to be a Knicks fan for a night. I would probably do it too if I had the money and the stardom. I would try to get on the list too. So I'm not mad.
Aaron Rodgers comes to the Jets. Oh, they're Super Bowl contenders. Oh, they can win it all. four plays in.
Yeah, but that's part of the thing. Like going back to this whole media thing that we've been talking about is like, because of this whole like, New York is the Garden is the mecca of basketball and all this kind of thing like that. It's like, yo, the Knicks have not been relevant in like 30 years. You know what I mean?
But it's true. The Garden
No,
is the mecca of basketball. I mean, I know y'all hate the Knicks and you hate.
It's not even about me hating them, right? But it's like, okay, you say the Garden is the mecca of basketball, right? Here's the thing, right? When you look at who wins in the league, you got the Lakers and you got Boston, and then it's everybody else, right?
You're talking two different subjects, though.
No. But my point is that you are saying that a place that has only produced one championship over a franchise, and your 2 championships over an entire franchise being the mecca of like, I get the reference of why it's the mecca and how basketball started and all that kind of stuff. Like I get that part of it, but what I'm saying is that by lifting up the Knicks in a way that you do in the media, you are that time that you spend on air talking about the Knicks, that's time that another team is not being talked about that's more relevant, is the point that I'm
making. Yes, but they're winning right now. No,
I don't have a problem with it this year. They're winning. I'm talking about in previous years when they haven't been good.
But the other thing, you get to speak from a point of privilege because the championships you have
here we go.
were reliant on literally 3 men: Shaquille O'Neal, Dwayne Wade, LeBron James. And if LeBron James does not come to that team, y'all don't win shit. Yeah, and
Ray Allen saved this season one year. I remember.
VP,
you remember that, right? Do you remember when Ray Allen saved that one? You remember when you gave up on your team and was like,
Game 6, 2011.
Nobody messaged me ever again.
If Shaq doesn't come to help D Wade, y'all never win anything either. So I mean, y'all would just happen to just be a lucky ass franchise, and people wanted to save some tax money, and they came and they played for y'all. That's it. Because if any of those other situations happened in New York, there wouldn't be shit you could say.
They got the mafia backing, and Miami to the current day in the past, the most recent past, is what Los Angeles was to the far past. Like, you want to go there because it's a party city, it's party town, it's it's the glitter, the lights, and Miami is Miami, right? It doesn't sleep. LA was that, New York was that. So Miami just had its run, it had its phase. But in addition to that phase, they went and brought in, a mafia boss who found a way to put together, a superstar team, like a super team. Like, you found a guy in Dwayne Wade who was out there and lobbying, probably doing what Cat Williams insinuated to get LeBron and mostly Bosh there, right? Take the booty, and we'll get you a ring type of deal. And Miami won that way. But the Knicks, listen, Madison Square Garden is the mecca. There's nothing you can say to change that. Every player you talk to says they lace their boots up when they go to Madison Square Garden. They try to play their best game. Madison Square Garden to players is the same thing as playing for the Yankees for a baseball player, playing for the Cowboys for a football player, the Lakers. These are organizations that people want to play for, and Madison Square Garden is where people go to to put their best effort out. And that happens because they do stuff like have star row, right? That front row is all stars. Like when you go play and you look to the left and you see all A-list stars, then you're gonna put your best foot forward. Happens at Staples Center too.
All right. I want to ask a question, and I'm being in all seriousness here when I ask this question to you too. Am I being punked? Am I being punked right now? Like, am I on the same show where we just talked about Joy Taylor and Skip Bayless and Kyle Hurd giving these bullshit opinions, and then I'm listening to a guy like, the Heat got lucky they won.
No, I said you got lucky they chose to come to the fucking.
You got
Heat.
lucky they chose to come to an organization.
If they didn't come there, if Pat Riley don't, if Shaq doesn't come to help D Wade, there's no championship. If Shaq and Kobe, if the marriage doesn't break up, there's no 2006 Miami Heat champions.
Period. Yeah, but I mean, there are all kind of things that happen. Maybe if some asteroid didn't collide with the sun, we wouldn't be here now. You know what I mean? Like, come on now. You know what I mean? Like, my point is,
you know what? If Joe Biden would get rid of student loans, motherfuckers would be happy. He would win the election. We want to talk about ifs. If was a spliff. If my aunt was my uncle. No.
Have you heard any player, right? Because we talked about how much we should value player opinions over like media folks or whatever. Because
the answer is yes.
Whatever. Have you heard any player say the Heat is not a well-run organization?
Oh, no.
No, but who cares? My point is, again.
Well, we know they're well run. Look at what they did with Haslam. They kept this guy.
My only thing is, you're talking like you're talking like the Heat prior to these moves were such a perennial. No, you motherfuckers got great free agents.
You are 100% wrong. And let me tell you why you're 100% wrong. Because I never even mentioned the Heat. You talked about the Heat.
Absolutely.
I have never said the Heat in this entire conversation until you guys.
But this is what I'm saying.
What I'm saying. Championships, though.
That's what I'm saying.
And I said Lakers and Boston. I've never said anything about Miami this whole conversation.
Yeah, but when you talk about the Lakers and Boston, there is no Lakers Boston without the Knicks, because in their heydays, in the prime time where basketball needed it, the Knicks in the 70s propelled the media and all of the hoopla about the NBA to Jerry West's Lakers. Same with the Celtics, and they were always historic rivalries. So you always have to hold these franchises in high regard. My thing about saying what I said about the Heat was, you're talking about relevance, and I'm saying the only reason you can speak from a point of privilege is because you were fortunate. Your franchise is fortunate enough to have had these guys, these free agents, come save you guys. There was a point where Shaq was considering New York. Had Shaq came to New York, who knows? LeBron, who knows? You know what I'm saying? But you guys got lucky to get those free agents, and kudos to y'all. Y'all will always be cemented in, NBA history for it.
Yeah, but I also think, like to Steve's point about, New York being the Mecca and Star Row and all that kind of stuff like that or whatever. I think part of the reason why that New York is what it is, right, is because New York also is the media capital of the world. And the folks who work in journalism, the folks who write the stories, the folks who produce the news and decide what comes on our TVs, what's in our newspapers, what's in our magazines, they're all from New York. And so they elevate the franchise that they probably grew up loving, the franchise that they currently root for, and they put them more in the national spotlight than they should be. And again, I'm not talking about this season. The Knicks are playing well this season and deserve all the attention that they're getting. Jalen Brunson at this point is a certified MVP candidate in my mind. But in previous years, the Knicks have been elevated into the national conversation around basketball, undeservedly so.
There's some validity to the media aspect of it, but the Knicks are the Yankees, are the Cowboys, are the Lakers, meaning you talk about these teams and you get ratings. When you talk about from a media standpoint, why wouldn't I talk about the Knicks? I'm gonna talk about the Knicks because it's gonna bring me ratings, just like I'm gonna talk about the Cowboys. For this, it's Super Bowl week, and you still see them talking about the Cowboys on shows. Like, why are you talking about the Cowboys on shows? They shouldn't be talked about.
I got you right, but let me ask. So, like, if this was 1750 and I read a newspaper, and the only football I knew about was at the local high school because we're in the horse and buggy era and I can't get anywhere. I don't know anything. You know, we live in an age where you can be anywhere in 2-3 hours, right? You got the internet. You don't even got to go there. You can pull up stuff or whatever. How hard would it be for the media to say, to basically be like Brian Windhorst, where LeBron goes is where I go, right? And you say, man, this year it seems like the Knicks are that team, so we're gonna give them a lot of coverage. We're gonna, they're gonna be in most shows. Like when you watch First Take, is always Cowboys, 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 because Stephen A is a Cowboys hater, right? But maybe, oh man, this year the Falcons are doing great. So you know what? Let's go do live shows from Atlanta every now and then. Like how when people remember when Coach Prime was killing shit, and all of a sudden all the shows are in Colorado. How come they can do that for these kind of stories, but they can't do it in other? You see what I'm saying? It's like they pick and choose what to cover, and that's kind of my point.
To be clear, the New York is the Mecca, whereas the Garden is known as the greatest sporting arena of all time. So it's not that the Knicks or the Garden is the Mecca; it's New York, and the reason that New York is the Mecca, that's where the best basketball historically in this country has come from as a city,
and music.
And most of the pros that have graced the NBA are, historically from New York. That's, where you have football, where you have the debate where Florida, California, Texas, Georgia, some of those states where you might, have that debate about football. And then, even in Texas where they say football is God, So, I mean, there are certain places known for certain things, and just historically, New York City has been the Mecca for basketball. And I mean, it's suffered over the years because, most of our talent leaves the city to go play in, Catholic schools and all of that stuff. Your Mellows, guys like Mello, who left to go other places. And, so, I mean, just to be clear, that's the difference. I mean, but MSG, that's a difference when you're discussing, arena. That's a different thing.
Now, let me say this real quick before you go, Steve. What EJ just did right there, that is how you craft a rebuttal, because he made valid, factual, great points. And in doing so, has changed my mind.
It's a good argument because it changed your mind. Oh my god. Last thing I'll say on this, which I completely forgot because VP's bullshit last statement, was when you talked about the media traveling, how would your local Miami Dolphins beat writers that you always flood our chat with about the dumbest shit? Tyreek Hill has a hangnail today. Tua, he got yellow rubber bands for his braids today. Those guys, how would they feel if all these larger giants came and stepped on them to report in your city? And then how would you feel? Because you're one of those people. You're a small business guy. You're Joe the plumber guy. Like, my poor beat writer got stepped on by ESPN. ESPN is this giant. Why are they taking over? Like, that's the type of shit that you would have to deal with if they did that.
No. So the local media is always going to cover the local teams, right? And that's fine. But my point is like when the national guys, there are teams that deserve to be in a national conversation sometimes, and they're not, because the media is dedicating all of their time to, what, like, here's an example in football, to your point about the Cowboys, right? The media are over reporting on the Cowboys at times, and the Cowboys were damn good last season. So I'm not saying
they're America's team, so there's that. You'd have to
let me just make the point though. But even though they were good last season, right? How many more stories do you think that the country deserved to see on what's happening with the Houston Texans, a team that had the first, or not the first, that's a top 3 pick in the draft last season. They won 3 or 4 football games last season, and then this season they won a division, quarterbacks rookie of the year. People were talking about him as an MVP candidate up until the point where he had the concussions, and even won a playoff game, right? There are people, and I'm not saying that people don't know the Houston Texans story or whatever, but they're not getting that like kind of like national darling treatment to where people can like, yo, I want to root for these guys because of, you know, XYZ, like stuff that was happening with the Lions and stuff like that. So when you prioritize a team like the Cowboys, right? Even when they're good, they're prioritized. Even when they're bad, they're prioritized. But when you prioritize them, you're doing fans a disservice by not covering stories like the resurgence of the Lions, who haven't been good in 30 years or whatever. Teams like the Texans, teams that are up and coming. Green Bay loses their Hall of Fame quarterback, and they win a numbers game. You know what I mean?
But it's a numbers game,
right? And you
it's
heard
just like politics.
Houston Houston made the playoffs with a 10-7 record. That's all I want to say.
I'm not necessarily talking about the record, but I'm just saying
it's a numbers game, though. It's a numbers game. That's why it's just like politics. You're not gonna you're gonna if you're on a campaign trail, you're gonna use most of your money where most of your votes are gonna come from, right? Mm-hmm. The same thing in media. They're gonna cover the teams with the largest fan bases. They don't care about Green Bay.
Right. Nobody cares about Denver. Denver just won fucking NBA championship, and they still not covering them.
And you know what? You guys are absolutely right. But the problem is that it's like when you watch, you know, Fox, right? Don't call yourself news, and then all you do is shit on Democrats for 24 hours. You know what I mean? That's not news. That's propaganda.
I'm muting him. I'm muting him. I mean?
But no, but just like in sports, right? In ESPN,
not in Black History Month. I'm not gonna let you do this.
In sports, you're supposed to be the premier national sports media organization, right? So don't call yourself sports news and all you cover is the Dallas Cowboys, because there's other things happening in
ESPN
sports.
is turning into MTV. It's reality TV. So MTV, when it was music television, you had videos, you could turn to that and you could see music stuff. Now it's Jersey Shore, it's The Challenge, it's 16 and Pregnant, it's all that crazy stuff, right? To me, ESPN has turned into shock value. How can I get someone on here to say some shocking shit to get us ratings? And that's the Stephen A. That's the what's the white dude that be screaming? The ex-punter, Matt McAfee.
Oh, Pat McAfee.
That's all of those, right? When you have
white dude that was screaming, they got more than one of those. You got
Mad Dog.
That's what I thought you were talking about, Mad Dog Russo.
Until you said punter, I was like, I don't know.
Yeah, but to me, it seems like it's a shock value type of thing for ESPN, and so we won't ever get that. And I think ESPN was under fire so much, and now being, you know, the connection with Disney and stuff like that, that now they have to make these. They have to check the boxes, right? I have to make sure I have a black woman reporting here because we got shitted on with the Rachel thing. I have to make sure that I have, you know, this person here. I have to cover a Dion. I have to cover the black school. Like, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but I feel like at times it doesn't seem authentic. And it seems like they're just overdoing it because they have to do it, because someone in an office somewhere that's making billions of dollars is saying, hey, we can't lose that black audience. And I think that we're going to feel that. We're going to see that with the Stephen A shit. I think Stephen A is going to have him by the balls, because as much as Pat McAfee commands and stuff like that, you lose Stephen A. That's a big following. That's a big
Let's not stand too much here while we're still on sports, because we didn't even get into what's going on today. The Super Bowl is being played today, gentlemen. Super Bowl halftime show. What, you know, where we at? What are we doing? You guys got your jerseys on. What's going on?
Since EJ transitioned us here, I can also report that Taylor Swift has made it back into the continental United States from Tokyo.
I feel so much better.
Molly, I'm sweating.
I feel so much better about the game now. Now we can have it.
Yo,
For a
but
minute, I
I don't know
thought
if
that they were
I don't
going
know
to
if
push
y'all
it to tomorrow.
I don't know if y'all saw when I put in the chat the point I was making that when we talked about the whole like Usher, they were saying like he should bring her on, that kind of thing. And I'm like, yo, the freaking private jet company she used to go from Tokyo literally put a maintenance crew and a second private jet in Tokyo on standby to make sure she got back. I'm like, she's too big of a star to perform with Usher, yo.
when you got a Billy, man. I mean,
But
bruh.
before that story, did you know that company?
I had never even heard of them.
Right.
That's
Same
crazy.
Actually,
thing
no,
with-
I've seen a commercial for that. Now I have seen a commercial for them before.
I actually have.
They
I
weren't
have
top of
their-
mind.
I have their app because you can buy like standby, like if there's seats, like let's say there's somebody that buys seats from here to Chicago, you can go on their app and you can get, if there's extra seats, you can get them at a discounted rate. Of course, that's still outside of
I was gonna say, what's discounted, like 15 grand?
yeah, it's still outside. It's still outside of my price point. But Tay man, Tay is gonna be there. Do you think Taylor Swift
nasty.
outside of the football players, the guys playing the games, you think Taylor Swift is gonna be the most seen face
Yes.
on the screen?
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you think she gets more screen time in just shots before, after, and during the game than Usher gets in his 15-minute halftime show?
No.
So do you think she gets collectively more than 15 minutes airtime?
No, I think. I mean, who knows collectively, but I think Usher is gonna get what Ushers do.
Shout
for
out to
that
Usher,
show.
yo.
He
He negotiated the extra 2 minutes to his show. So
yeah,
I'm not
he
even
won't
mad.
because Cowherd put together. I don't know if y'all why. There's one thing he actually done that was good, where he was like talking about people with the Taylor Swift criticism, and he was highlighting an article. I think it was in the New York Times. I want to say where they said basically they calculated how much time she's on screen in each individual game, and then like what the average was, and the average during games is something like 32 seconds out of the entire 3.5 hour broadcast or whatever.
Mhm.
So even in this, if you figure it's going to be the same in the Super Bowl, or even if you say it's going to be doubled, we're talking about a minute versus Usher with a 15-20 minute performance.
Mm.
So no.
Do you think we hear her name more than we hear? I think we hear her name more than we hear fucking what's his name? Deebo Samuel's name. I think we will hear her name said more than we hear Deebo Samuel, who is a guy playing the game.
My thing is, and I'm not saying you saying this, Steve, but I don't be getting the outrage. Like, it's
don't
Taylor
either.
Swift. Like, what do you expect, my nigga? Like, it's Taylor Swift. Like, I don't care. It doesn't impact the game. I think it's funny. You know what I mean?
And-
I don't really know much about her until now. So
Right. And the thing that you guys were just saying about the media's coverage of whether we're talking about, Knicks, Cowboys, whatever, right? The same thing is happening here, right? Because Market Watch, which is a media organization that covers, the markets obviously, they wrote a story saying that based on their analyzing of the networks, NFL, et cetera, Taylor Swift being at these games has been a $331 million boost, like in the aggregate, when we're talking about the NFL, the networks, all combined. You know what I mean?
think
and what business it's going to be like, yo, fuck that $331 million. Get this bitch off my screen. You know what I'm saying?
Well, it made Travis Kelce's jersey at one point the highest selling jersey, which is unheard of for a tight end. Pause.
When they got revealed that they were dating, Travis Kelce gained 800,000 Instagram followers in one day.
In one night.
You know what I mean? Like,
I'm with it.
I love it. I love it.
I think it's just all a ploy to try and get Taylor Swift fans to vote for Joe Biden. It's gonna happen. What if she had a Joe Biden shirt on tonight? That should be crazy. She won't. There's like a 0.000000000% chance, but it'd be funny.
she's not even
she's a
like
troller.
a Biden supporter like that, right? the whole reason that this Taylor Swift thing became political is because in the documentary thing she did for the tour or whatever, there's a clip in there of, because she's from Tennessee, and
About
the
supporting
senator
Trump,
there,
right?
Marsha Blackburn, as well as like stuff that was happening with Trump, she was saying, I don't like this shit, and it's something that I say all the time when I say it's your country too, right? And it seems like she had that feeling of like, I don't like what's happening in this country. Her team was like, no, you can't get involved. Politics is gonna, remember what happened to them Dixie chicks, And she essentially was saying, I can't just be silent on this shit because I don't like what's happening in my country. You know what I mean? And so she didn't even speak out and say, don't vote for Trump. She essentially, it was subliminal, but she essentially was trying to help people register to vote. And people are like, oh, Taylor Swift, blah, blah. And it's like, come on now. Like what are we talking about here?
She's also an extreme feminist.
I wouldn't go that far.
What? All right, I'm gonna challenge you to do your research on Taylor Swift, and then we'll revisit this conversation.
What do you mean by extreme feminist? Like, give me an example.
Do your research.
Okay.
Do your research.
Watch
yeah, watch the space. But from an NFL standpoint, EJ, tell me who you picked, and do you have any player props or any bets that you've put in as yet? Same game parlays, things like that.
So I believe in my mind that the Chiefs are set to win, but I just put in. I didn't really do any bets on this, so I think you had to put in a lot of big money on it, right? But I just picked Trent McDuffie to return an interception for a TD and Chiefs to win exactly by 6. Put $1 on that.
Chiefs to win exactly by 6.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That's not a horrible bet. What was the odds on that?
Well, no, it's still Trent McDuffie to return an interception for a TD. So he needs a pick 6 and then to win by exactly 6. But the odds are plus 50,000. Nah, it's just a special it's FanDuel special. Odds of plus 50,000. So
okay. Yeah, FanDuel taking y'all money.
Yeah.
So for
I just put $1
both have
down
to hit.
on it.
Both have to hit, or either or.
Yeah, he has to have a pick 6 and then they have to win exactly by 6.
Okay, so it's a parlay.
No, it's just a special one bet.
Yeah.
It's just a one bet, special one bet.
No, but both things have to happen for you to win.
Yeah, it would qualify as a parlay. Like if you were
that's what I'm asking. Both things have to happen for you to win.
Yeah, I don't know that you call it a
gotcha.
parlay because it's not a full betting.
No, I got you. I just when he asked was it a parlay and you said no, I thought you made 2 individual bets.
No. Yeah, no, that's just one. This is one bet that has those stipulations to it. Yeah.
Gotcha. Yep. Yeah, that's one. I agree with Steve. Like when they say you walk into a casino, you look to your left and your right, and you'll see a sucker. I
won some. I think I won the score last year, though. I think I predicted the score last year.
Mm-hmm. Those are those bets where it's like, yeah, they just taking people money. That's how they're gonna pay off that bet that somebody made. When you hear about this dude bet $500 and won $3 million, and everybody's like, this is why you got to get on FanDuel. That's how they pay for it with that bet EJ just made. But then the shit hits and be like, damn, EJ, why you ain't bet $10?
Right. Exactly. You'd be out there. I have just some small. I have one small parlay and one big parlay. I think they're both big parlays, Pauls. So I got Patrick Mahomes under 1.5 passing touchdowns. This is my parlay to hedge the other one that I have. Patrick Mahomes under 1.5 passing touchdowns. Chris Jones over 0.5 sacks. Chase Young under 0.5 sacks because I don't see Chase Young getting it done. They probably bench him anyway. Christian McCaffrey over 13.5 longest reception. Harrison Butker over 1.5 field goals made. I feel like if Mahomes doesn't throw for 2 and they're going to win, then he's going to have to kick field goals. Christian McCaffrey over 1.5 touchdowns. So that's 2+ touchdowns. Brock Purdy under 247.5 passing yards. Isaiah Pacheco over 67.5 rushing yards. Rashee Rice over 49.5 receiving yards. And Christian McCaffrey over 3.5 receptions. That is a far cry parlay, 10 bet plus 15,000 odds. Not sure. I doubt that's going to hit. And the other one is Chiefs to win. McCaffrey, anytime touchdown. Patrick Mahomes over 1.5 passing touchdowns. Pacheco over 49.5 rushing yards. Travis Kelce over 70.5 receiving yards. Chris Jones 1 sack. And McCaffrey longest reception over 13.5 yards. I think that one has a chance to hit. But it's also a 7 bet.
But
I was just saying it's a 7 bet, which makes it tough to hit.
that first one you mentioned, I actually liked all of the bets in there except the Mahomes. I think Mahomes goes over on 1.5.
I think he does too. Remember, I have that other one that I made. So I thought this was a pretty good strategy, and I think for next year I might try this. Right, Super Bowl Sunday being a single game. When I was going through Underdog, I want to say it was Friday night, I saw 4 really good plays, and I put those 4 plays with Patrick Mahomes over 1.5 passing touchdowns. And so I took the special for Thursday or Friday night, which was Brandon Ingram over 0.5 points. That's easy. LeBron James with a double-double against the Pelicans. That was easy. Nick Richards, Charlotte with a double-double against Milwaukee. He's a big man. Averages 12 rebounds a game. Why not, right? All he has to do is score 10 points. And then Kristaps Porzingis against Washington to have a double-double. So, again, we're talking about another big man who averages multiple or high-level rebounds. Washington's not a good rebounding team. So, Kristaps Porzingis for a double-double, easy money there. So, all 4 of those hit. And then I paired that with Patrick Mahomes, 1.5 passing touchdowns. Higher than 1.5 passing touchdowns, right? And that was $10 to win $450. So now if Patrick Mahomes throws the 2 touchdowns, which everyone would expect to happen, that's an easy $450, right? So now leading into it, I'm hedging it with a couple of weird bets that are under 1.5 passing touchdowns, because then if those hit, then I don't feel too bad about missing out on him throwing the 2. But if he does, I'm going to hit that and any other ones where I chose him over 1.5 for the most part. So, I just thought it was a pretty interesting strategy. I tried it again last night, but the NBA picks that I made last night didn't hit. But thanks to the Knicks.
Well, they only played with 6 or what was it? 6 or 7 guys, injuries, and
I didn't realize they had that much going on. Brunson was a game time. He played and still had a really good game, but I didn't know Randall was out, so I thought that they would beat Indy. But
he's been out with a dislocated shoulder.
I'll be looking at some more bets throughout the day here. Do you guys still feel the same way about who's going to win the game today as you did last week?
Yeah, I'm still there. I still got the Chiefs. I think I used to say this when Brady played, and not so much Manning, but more Brady. Like you used to watch those games, and it almost seems like defenses were playing scared, like they're playing not to lose versus trying to win. And it seems like a lot of teams play Mahomes that way now, and by doing that, you allow him to go out and score, where you play with this bend don't break mentality, and then he keeps breaking you, instead of just playing how you play, And I also think that the experience matters, right? You got a coaching staff that is extremely experienced with Super Bowl talent up and down the coaching tree. You have players that have Super Bowl. I mean, this team was in the Super Bowl last year, so with the exception of their rookies and maybe a few free agents, this is pretty much the same team. And so these guys don't have to worry about the big lights. They know this is what we need to do at halftime because we get a longer halftime than we traditionally do because they did it last year and then they did it 2 years before that and then they did it another time like another year before that, or you know what I mean? So like this team is going to be well prepared versus a team with a rookie quarterback or not a seventh round last pick of the draft quarterback, who is playing in the biggest stage of his life, so I still got the Chiefs winning this thing.
I think that's a good point. We saw that similarly last year with the Eagles, right? The Eagles were coming in. People were like, yo, this team is the shit. But I said it at the beginning of the game. Star Spangled Banner comes on. You got all these Eagles players crying and like this is the biggest moment of their life. Their hearts are pounding out of their chest. They pan over to Kansas City and it's another day at the office because they've been there multiple times. Kansas City with Andy Reid and Travis Kelce and Mahomes. Mahomes is standing there like, all right, can we get the fucking game going?
Right.
And so when you don't have to deal with nerves, I think that makes all the difference, man. And the 49ers, they have some really good players. But I think these are, again, like you said, this is the pinnacle of a lot of these guys' career today and probably going to be the highest point they make in the NFL at some point or at any point of their career. And so today is the day for them. So
right. To Steve's point real quick, EJ, like look at how LeBron played in that finals against the Spurs or his first finals with the Heat to the way he plays now. Like he's won one and now he plays a lot looser, a lot freer. You know what I mean? So I think you see that tonight.
No, absolutely. But and also just going back to the teams, right? I mean, Kansas City, like I said to you guys a couple weeks ago, this team has built a championship level defense to couple an offense, right?
Sneakily.
A functioning offense. And I think with San Francisco, Brock Purdy is, I don't think he's faced a defense that good this, passing wise yet. It's going to be interesting to see what they do. But the other thing is too, San Fran struggled to get here. KC's been doing what they've been doing, and they're seemingly a well-oiled machine that just doesn't let up.
Yeah, that's a good point, man. And I watch that show First Things First every now and then with Nick Wright, and he's a Chiefs fan. Like, he tells people that straight up, right? And he was saying something all season, and I thought it was just like one of those. This guy's a fan, so he's just, And he was saying during the regular season, he was like, the Chiefs are practicing. Andy Reid saves all this good stuff for the playoffs. And that team's looked totally different since the playoffs started versus the way they looked in the regular season. And it's like, I know it seemed like he was just talking shit, but I don't know now. It might be something to that,
And, I don't know if that's just Andy Reid. I think look at Travis Kelce. Like, take away all the Taylor Swift stuff. It don't even matter. None of that matters. This guy, his regular season was like, oh man, people were like, oh, he's on the decline, right? Now, playoffs started. This guy, 10 catches, 12 catches, touchdowns, like it's a whole different ball game. And to Andy Reid's credit, I think it is partially him saying, hey guys, stay healthy, right? Don't overdo it. All we got to do is get into the tournament. You know what I mean? Like, we still got to win some of these games, and these are big games, but we got to get into the tournament. And if we get into the tournament, we got a puncher's chance, like a really good chance to get in here and, and to win this thing. And, I think that's what it came down to. And of course, they started off slow. They didn't have Chris Jones. Chris Jones wasn't in game shape. Remember, the first night he was sitting up in the box because they didn't get the contract done. That is a huge difference maker right there. When you now have to account for this guy and put 2 offensive linemen to stop him, that's why EJ's boy Karlaftis or whatever his name is getting through easily. That's why Karlaftis. That's also why that secondary looks great, right? You got Reed. Those guys are good, really good secondary players. But when you got quarterbacks that have to make those throws quicker, right? You got to get the ball out quick because Chris Jones is lurking. That makes things completely different, man. And, to your point, man, Kansas City, that defense it looks really, really good. It looks really
good. They got Snead on one side and Trent McDuffie on the other side. Trent McDuffie, top 10 pick out of Washington, one of my favorite college cornerbacks. You said it. They got Karlaftis, who I thought another top 10 pick. Well, I don't know if he's top 10, but number one pick with Chris Jones. I mean, they have developed a defense that is, to your point with Chris Jones, because we saw that in their first few games. They've got it going. They got it going. They've got it clicking. And I think they're gonna be the highlight of this game. I really do. I think they're gonna be the highlight of this game.
I think for 49ers to win this game, I don't even think it's their offense. They have the weapons on offense. I think it's going to come down to their defense. I think it's going to come down to a Fred Warner. These guys are going to have to stop Travis Kelce and make other guys catch the ball or drop the ball, because we know that's what Kansas City wide receivers have been doing all year. They've been dropping the ball. They've caught it in some big spots, right? But their pass catchers have been Gray, tight end, and Travis Kelce, tight end, right? And then Pacheco, of course. Pacheco's out there running. He runs like a man possessed. And you got to make Patrick Mahomes throw the ball. And even if he's on his spot, you got to make him throw it to guys like, and I don't know if he's playing, but Tony, you got to make him throw it to MVS, because these guys are going to drop the ball. So you cover Rashee Rice really well, because that's the other guy who's a difference maker. And you cover Travis Kelce and you make those other guys catch the ball on passing downs.
Absolutely. And I think Fred Warner, I like him as a linebacker. I just don't think he's.
I love Fred Warner, man. He's one of my favorite guys in the league.
I like him, but I just don't think he's an all around complete linebacker. He's very fast. He plays sideline to sideline. He diagnoses plays very well, but his coverage ability is not as good, in my opinion. So I don't expect that San Fran, and I don't think they should do it, would have him on Travis Kelce. If they do that, Travis Kelce's going to have one hell of a day. They don't have many people on that team that can cover Travis Kelce. So you made a hell of a point. I just don't know if Kansas City's going to feel like they have to force it to Travis Kelce. But, I mean, shit, Patrick Mahomes, if he gets open, Patrick Mahomes is going to throw it down. So, I don't know.
Yeah. What kind of snacks you guys eating for the game or expected to eat for the game?
I don't know. Definitely wings. I don't know if you call it a snack.
I wouldn't mind some wings. I don't think we're not doing wings, so we're supposed to be grilling some steaks and doing some shrimp skewers, and then some sides.
Are we in a recession? Dog, man, I tell you,
that's the most Republican shit, Steve. Don't be getting lobsters with your food stamps, bitch. Yo,
how's that any different than? Yeah, I'm not gonna start.
Let me tell you, the one spot that I go to, I think I took Eric here when he came out here. Let me just read you their specials for Super Bowl today. You've got Super Bowl free oysters, $1 beers, 20 wings in a bucket of Bud Light, $35, 30 wings, 28 Bud Light bottles. The fuck? $3. I don't get it. They need to redo this. And some crushes, fresh fruit crushes, which is a drink, a Maryland popular drink, $7. Free oysters and $1 beers.
Free oysters?
Sounds like good specials, except the oysters.
Yeah, I don't like
free oysters. Oysters are expensive, so free oysters that's a really good deal.
Yeah,
are they
free oysters
raw?
And they used to, and they'll shuck them in front of you. They used to have, before COVID, they used to do the 30 wings and a bucket of beer for like $20. Oh no, you used to get a pound of shrimp. It used to be a pound of shrimp. Pound of shrimp, 20 wings, and like a bucket of beer. Some crazy, I can't remember what it used to be before COVID, but yeah, I took Eric here, I think, a couple times.
That must be the
shit-faced.
You know how whenever there's if there's like an avian flu outbreak or bird flu outbreak and they got to kill all those chickens, that must be where they get like All that for $30? Like, goddamn.
There's a wing shortage again. I went to Costco yesterday looking for wings, and they're sold out. They only had drums. So
yeah, most places tell you got to pre-order. Like at Publix, they tell you got to pre-order for Super Bowl.
Mhm.
yeah,
Like if you plan on ordering a pizza, you probably got to put that shit in now, and like set it for delivery at 7 o'clock or whatever.
true.
Yeah, this
Or just
place,
go pick it up.
this
Yeah.
place historically has had these type deals. You know, they've been around for a little while. So, but like I said, pre-COVID, the specials were even crazier pre-COVID. So they just now recovering to get back to where they can do this stuff.
You know, did you guys see the Grammys?
Nah,
I saw the
Of course
speech.
I haven't
Why would
watched
would
the
you guys
Grammys
watch
in
the Grammys?
years.
Why would you guys do anything other
I'm still boycotting
More.
the Grammys. I'm not Jay-Z. I didn't give up on the boycott.
Well, a lot of people gave up on the boycott. The Grammys was blacker than fucking BET Awards this year.
Nah,
It
no
was
bullshit.
every time you turn every time I flip to the TV, it's, aside from Taylor Swift, which apparently she must be black because Travis Kelce invented the fade. That's what they said this week.
Tried to fade, yo.
Travis Kelce invented the fade haircut. Like
That shit was nasty. Nasty.
I tell you, man. Sometimes just stay. Sometimes these guys, these reporters, they just got to stay in their lane. Stay in your lane of boat shoes and polos, and you know what I mean. Like,
but it's what happens when you have a lack of diversity, man, in these organizations. You know, people say idiotic shit like that. You know, like they said the same thing about Taylor Swift starting swag surfing. And people are like,
right.
what? You know what I mean? Like,
that new Taylor Swift dance.
And you know, and it kind of reminds me of, remember in 2020 EJ during the campaign when Kamala went to that sorority, the ones that be like, them that you know the sorority I'm talking about, EJ, the one that
she's in.
I don't know if that's the one she's in, but I know she's in a sorority. I don't know which one. But you
know
the sorority I'm talking about. That's okay.
Maybe.
Well, when she went to visit them, and they were doing the little cat call thing they do. The media reported it as Kamala being heckled during her speech, and people are like, "What? Like,
is this a black sorority?"
Yeah, it's probably her sorority, is Alpha Kappa Alpha, and he's probably referring to when they do the ski-wee.
Yeah, there you go. The ski-wee. I don't know why I call it cat call.
Wait a minute.
But
hold on, the AKAs be saying ski-yee?
No, they say ski-wee.
Oh, okay. I thought they was fucking with Sexy Red real quick.
Nah.
So it's kind of like their way of like clapping or whatever. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm,
so like somebody says something, and they all go like ski, you know. But it's like the whole crowd doing it, and the media reported that as Kamala being heckled during her speech.
Facts. Yep.
Yo,
check you out.
VP reporting on a black sorority is like these same people he's talking about. You know, when they have their big old buckets of watermelon, and then she say something they like, and they ski yee.
Yo.
You are boy, oh boy. There's a little one of those little animals that be attacking the garbage cans. Yeah, that's you, sir.
Yo.
Oh man.
That was a good one.
So the Grammys happened this week, and there was a lot happened. Killer Mike won 3 awards. Swept a lot of rap categories. Shout out to Killer Mike for his album Michael. It is like a classic hip hop sound when you listen to it.
Oh,
yeah. It's really like it's good. The production is good. I mean, Mike has always rode the beat. Pause. You know,
I've never really been a fan of his, so
I've never been a fan of his, but I've respected his his lyricism. Like he's one of those guys. To me, you have to be. He's almost like one of those woke rappers, right? But it sounds good. Yeah, but it sounds good because he's from Atlanta, so he has a little twang to it. Atlanta, they are all about beats and shit. So his shit it's been good in the past. Listening to this album, it's different, right? It's almost like music to your ears, for lack of a better word, no pun intended, because all we've been hearing is all this, I can't even I don't even know how to mimic it, but all the drill and the trash music that's been out recently, right? So he won 3 Grammys. Some people were up in arms, some people supported it. I don't know whether there were other albums that should have won over him, but he got 3, and then he got arrested because he pushed a security guard at the Grammys. Allegedly.
She was trying to stop him from going to an area, and he pretty much moved past her, and then she got in front of him again. Supposedly he pushed her to the ground.
Right, of course, because she needs a payday. So he got escorted out, which is fine. It is what it is. He got his 3 Grammys. He made a speech. But I guess the highlight for our time in our culture was, and it always is going to be, it's going to be the Black Grammy, right? It's the new one, the Dr. Dre Grammy. Dre got it last year. He was the first person. It's almost like a lifetime achievement, but in hip hop, it seems to me. And this year went to Jay-Z. And I think rightfully so, right? Dre and Jay have always historically been, 2 guys that were held in high regards in hip hop and rap music. And I think with all that Diddy's going on with, there's no other question of who gets it, right? You got Diddy, Jay. We're probably the next 2 in line after Dre because it is his award that you would give it to. And Diddy's fucked up, right? So Jay gets up there, he uses his time. I feel pretty wisely. He called out the Grammys. He said, "Hey, look, my wife." He didn't say it this way, but I'm gonna paraphrase. He basically said, "Hey, my wife Beyonce got more Grammys than any of you bitches, and y'all still haven't given her an album of the year, and she deserves it. And y'all got it fucked up because you telling me these are your awards, you telling me these are your numbers, and by your numbers, she doesn't have an album of the year. How is that possible?" And then the very next thing, of course, Tay wins album of the year. But I thought it was a pretty good speech. He did make some other remarks and comments to people not belonging there and stuff like that. I don't know if you guys clearly VP said you didn't watch EJ, so you didn't watch it, but you saw the speech. Any thoughts on the speech from what you heard, EJ?
My thoughts are gonna largely be the same about this guy. Somebody said he's a plant disguised as a renegade. He takes these opportunities to get us all riled up, to get us all in this woke bag as if he's, championing everything for the Black culture. And then he finds a way to financially benefit, I mean, he's done this over the years where he was boycotting the Grammys, and now he's, the most winning artist from hip hop, with 20 something plus, so I mean, for me, it's par for the course for Jay-Z. I don't really hold him to that regard to being this freedom fighter. So I mean, that I'm biased, so I don't really, it didn't move me for too much. I'm not a whole venger.
Well, first of all, you're wrong. But go ahead, VP.
No, so I actually have seen the speech. While Steve was doing his setup, I was literally watching, and that's how long he took. But
that was the reason. That was the point. So you could do your research.
But so I literally, like, right as EJ was ending, Hov was like, "Shout out to everybody held up the trophy," and the video ended. So it was impeccable timing by that brother. But but yeah, I watched the speech. I think that that Jay-Z makes some good points. One, some of it was comedy with him saying like, "Oh, Will Smith boycotted the Grammys and then went to a hotel and watched the Grammys, so it wasn't a great protest." And then some kind of self-humiliation where he says he did the same thing, boycotted the Grammys and then watched the Grammys or whatever. But I think he also was right in the things that he said about the Grammys having to get right, and where he essentially talks about Beyonce having the most Grammys of anybody in Grammys history, but she's never won album of the year. That shit doesn't make sense
That is
by
crazy.
by their own metric, which is literally what he said. By your own metric, that doesn't make sense. Taylor Swift's won album of the year 4 years, 4 different years, including this recent Grammys or whatever. But at the same time, though, like we were talking about with diversity in media and younger people and things like that, the Grammys is one of these institutions that has the Woody Pages and the Bob Ryans and the Tony Kornheisers and guys like that who are 60, 70, 80 years old that are judging what music is, right? And it's how you have albums that people have never even heard of win album of the year. Like, I don't know if you guys remember, about 3 years ago, maybe 4 years ago, something like that. I don't even know this guy's name. He's a black artist, and he is the leader of the band that plays on Stephen Colbert's show on CBS, the Late Show, when he took over for David Letterman. When Stephen Colbert came in, he brought in this New Orleans band to be the live band, and those guys released an album, and their album won album of the year. I don't even know these guys' name, and they won album of the year. It's like that same year when I think her name is Lorde, I want to say, Lorde A or something like that. Yeah, when she won over Eminem or whatever. And it was like, but it's because the Grammys are the Bob Ryans and the Woody Pages of the world that are the people making these decisions. It's how you see the type of music that wins album of the year and wins all these accolades is because of that lack of diversity in the people who vote for these things.
So the spin, I think we'll see a shift slightly in the Grammys, because if you've ever been nominated or you've ever won, you get a ballot, right? So in addition to, so when you talk about 60, 70, 80 years old, right, Grammys have been around forever, so you're going to have those people at all times. But where I say we might see a shift is now you're starting to see nominations. You're seeing a lot more hip hop nominations. You're seeing a lot more rap album nominations, a lot more black nominations, a lot more people who are in tune with, with us, whether they're black or white, getting nominations. So I think that we'll see a shift slightly in some of the Grammys. So people are saying, well, why are people liking the Grammys now? They're pandering to us. And I think they are partially. But I also think that some of these wins are because you're seeing people. Now you're going to see a Killer Mike get ballots. Now you're going to see, I mean, you got producers that produce for him or Miley Cyrus at one point, Mike Will, those guys that are going to be getting ballots to make these, to help make these decisions. So I think
let me ask you this though, right? Because I think that's a good point. But are those ballots of equal weight? Because I don't know. I'm asking. You know what I mean? So is it one of those things where it's like, oh, these people got ballots, but their vote only count like with the Pro Bowl? The fans vote, but our vote only counts as 1/3.
I highly doubt it.
Doubt it. I mean, let's. So what you're talking about, even if you take all that out of it, right? There's the machine behind
and
it.
I don't know that. I'm asking.
Even if it's 1-to-1, right? If it's 1-to-1 and it's EJ, VP, Steve, and we are three quarters, let's say, of the vote, and we vote for I don't know, fucking YME, whatever the hell, one of those rappers, right? For album of the year, and it's Taylor Swift in that conversation, Taylor Swift is gonna win, right? So I think there's still that part to it. I think there's the money, there's the business aspect to it. So I think that still plays a part. But I think in some of these other categories that are not album of the year, you will see you'll see a shift. Where I say EJ is wrong, and I think VP said it, is I think saying something is better than saying nothing, right? Hov went up there, he got his award. If he don't say nothing, he's just conforming and he's moving on, right? And what he said may fall on some deaf ears, but I also think there was a message to some people to be like, yo, it's 2024. Like, I need y'all to really start looking at how things go, how things are playing out. There's people that think SZA should have won album of the year this year. I didn't listen to SZA's album. I didn't listen to Taylor Swift's album. I can't be the judge of whether she should have or shouldn't. But I think there's some people that stand on a square that say, "Yo, there is no way that Tay Tay should have won, over SZA." When you talk about the music, right? Forget about the stardom. Take all of that out of it. If you take album to album, put it side by side, and then put a name on it or a face to it, there people are saying that SZA album was better than the Taylor Swift album.
It's not the message. It's not the message for me. It's the messenger. While I understand what he's saying and it makes sense, this is the same person that he does this shit all the time, right? He's a guy that stood on the square to say, "Fuck the Grammys. We don't need them. They ain't never gonna fuck with us. So why do we need them?" You know what I'm saying? And he took that stance. So it's like you're still trying to fight to be accepted in a space where they never accepted you, and you were supposed to be the champion to make something for our own people to do our thing. Now, let's be realistic. Any person in that field, in that career, is going to want to be acknowledged by these people because it's the pinnacle, it's the accepted, acclaimed top of the top, and it's going to financially put you in a boost. He did the same shit with the NFL. Fuck the NFL. Y'all didn't want to support Colin Kaepernick. Travis, if I was you, I wouldn't do the halftime show. Turned around and took over and worked with them. You know what I'm saying? So I started off and I could say, I'm biased because I just think he's always gotten too much credit for trying to look like the renegade at times, when really at the end of the day, you show time and time again, you're just gonna be the businessman that you are. And I mean, that's who he is, that's what he's been, you know what I'm saying? And I don't get moved when Jay-Z does this shit. I don't get moved. And it's like I made the arguments before, like, bro, you 45 and you still getting on tracks, features talking about slinging drugs, but then you want to turn around and say you regret it and all this. It's like, it's just, for me, I never really can get with him. So I don't knock the message. For me, it's just more the messenger.
Yeah, I mean, I hear what you're saying. I do feel like sometimes Jay-Z is in that Michael Jordan thing. Republicans buy shoes too. Like it does have a feel like that sometimes. But I think the message that he's saying, it still resonates just because of the person saying it, the amount of clout and notoriety that he has saying it.
There, exactly.
Not only saying it to these people, but saying it in their building to their faces that y'all got to get right, and then pointing out the disparities, essentially saying and yeah, people will say he's talking about his own wife, whatever, but saying, how can you have a person who's won the most Grammys in history and they've never won album of the year? Like, you're saying this song of the year, artist of the year, this, but their album is never, like, that don't even make sense. You know what I'm saying? And so and then so I don't have a problem with him saying, I get your point, EJ, but I think it was still good that it was said, because him voicing it can help to correct what's seen as the issue.
EJ just hates Jay-Z, but I'll put it into a perspective, EJ. There's two parts to that. I think VP touched on one part that I was going to get to, which is that's the voice. And so if this is the person saying fuck you, but now I'm the person at the table, I'm representing a culture, and I'm saying, hey guys, stand behind me. I'm gonna tell you, we don't need these people, but I'm gonna try and get a seat at the table so that we get representation. Whether people stand by that or not is one thing or another. But people also grow, right? So I think there was also a point where you and I, not VP, but you and I have always said, just because it was the right thing, fuck Trump, full Democrat 100%, right? But I think now we're at a point where we're still going to vote Democrat because we know it's the best thing for our people and our children and what the options are today. But we also question some of it, right? We question some of the stuff that they say or do. And given the opportunity, you would take a seat at the table to make, changes or give impact, feedback, and such, right? So I think people's thought patterns change, and to hold it against anyone, Jay-Z or anyone else, who would have said fuck the Grammys at some point, but then showed up, is unfair. Just because you do show growth, and you're not always going to be that same person. and
It's
the shift in
it's
culture.
not that, and I mean you're right in your juxtaposition, but for me again, it's just this guy historically has been consistently Jay-Z. I mean, he may not be on the boycott tip, but a lot of the things that he does, in my opinion, amount for personal gain for him. You know what I mean? Like we literally saw it recently, not that long ago, with the Super Bowl. This was the same dude that was saying, "Fuck the NFL, I stand by Kaepernick." Told Travis Scott or whoever it was, one of them young guys, you shouldn't do the Super Bowl. If I was you, I wouldn't do the Super Bowl. And then turned around and got in bed with these guys. So it just, I
But
don't.
I agree with you, but does the weekend get that opportunity if Jay's not there? Does
I think the weekend does for sure.
Okay. All right, maybe the weekend.
Rihanna for sure.
Do we see a West Coast Super Bowl
I mean,
act?
Dr. Dre,
I
Dr.
don't
Dre,
think so.
Snoop. I think you could, Dr. Dre, Snoop. I think these are bad examples because they're mega stars.
We've
I think
consistently.
right. I think what Steve is trying to say is that since Jay-Z partnered with
But
the
hold up,
NFL, we've gotten better Super Bowl. But I get your point. I'm not saying your point is wrong.
No.
I get exactly what you're trying to say.
To respond to Steve too, right? Jay-Z is also the same guy that when the game was like, yo, why wasn't I added to this joint? Jay-Z said, no, that's Dre. I didn't have nothing to do with it. So it's like, again, I get what you're saying about maybe seeing more cultural acts, but my other thing is, what other things are we getting out of this that we thought we were gonna get when Jay was partnering with the NFL? And we knew it was going to be something musically involved, and we thought it was going to have more weight to it. What else is happening? Like, what else
right
is coming from this?
And that's where I was getting ready to go. So like I see both sides of it, right? So since Jay is partnering with them, I feel like the halftime shows has gotten better. And my whole problem with the halftime shows was like, it was like we would get Prince, and it was like, okay, Prince is fucking awesome, right? He's a legend. And then it would be like 6 years in a row of like Guns N' Roses, Sting,
Right.
and the
That's
Police,
what I'm getting at.
and then Elton John, and da 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 da. Then it was like, okay, now here's Beyonce, and then it's like 6 more years of all this shit that people don't want to hear. And now they kind of seem to have gone in the total opposite directions. I'm pretty sure it's people who want to hear Guns N' Roses who are like, yo, like what's with all this urban shit? You know what I mean?
Word.
So but even with that being said, like to EJ's point, right? Jay-Z's whole protest began with the Kaepernick situation. And since he's partnered with them, we haven't seen things change in that regard. Yeah, we have more black quarterbacks or whatever, but nobody's protesting anymore. You still see black coaches not get hired and shit like that all the time, get fucked over, et cetera, et cetera. And I know that wasn't part of his stand, but, still. So it's kind of like Jay-Z got to have his cake and eat it too, to where it's like, okay, I got the NFL to do these great halftime shows, and everybody's like, thanks, Jay. And the NFL got to have his cake and eat it too at the same time by saying, everybody thought we were racist, and now they don't think that anymore because we partnered with Jay-Z.
Good looks, my nigga.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, listen, since he's been there, we saw The Weeknd, Rihanna, Dr. Dre, 50, Snoop, all on the same stage, Usher. Like, we wouldn't see this many black acts or hip hop or urban acts in this short span of time without that conversation, without that seat at the table. So
maybe not. Maybe not. I mean, we've historically had them though, but I mean, maybe not. You might be right. I mean, for Usher, it only makes sense because this guy's been killing the Vegas residency, and it is Usher. But I mean, historically, we have had good black acts over the years. Do things, but I get it. I don't knock you. But again, it even leans to my point. Who does that still benefit at the end of the day? It benefits Jay.
It also benefits the artist, though. Look at the change in, look at the change in the artist. Now, I would personally love to see not only these big artists, but I'd like to see them pull some smaller artists up there, to benefit from it as well, because these are mega stars, right? So sure, The Weeknd benefited, but he was already a mega star. Rihanna's already in another atmosphere. Dre's in another atmosphere. Usher is now in another atmosphere, even more so with the sports teams and all of that. And now he's gonna have a tour after this. So, but I would like to see how do other people benefit from this? And maybe we're not seeing it. I don't know if we're seeing halftime shows at these lower games, or maybe that's a long-term plan. but maybe they need to start doing that. I know what we did see, like in Detroit, we saw what was her name, the old lady with the big ass titties, Dolly
Dolly Parton.
Parton. We saw like those, but like
And then the
maybe
other
those
game
had.
they had the white boy. I can't think of his name now.
You think about it, but I would say like on a big Buffalo playoff game, maybe Benny the Butcher, right? I mean, I know his music it doesn't translate to the children the way that people want, but I'm sure he could have songs or make songs that do, right? I would like to see some of these younger artists benefit from it as well. But there was a rumor, and I don't know if it's true or not. I was looking forward to see if it was anywhere else. Maybe it was just a garbage post on social media. But someone said Alicia Keys is set to be part of the halftime show with Usher.
Yeah, I think I saw that too.
That would be pretty dope.
They're definitely going to do My Boo for sure. They're definitely going to do that song My Boo for sure.
Was that was Keys? Yeah, I know.
Mm-hmm.
Usher. Okay. Oh, well, you got to check the bets, check the halftime bets, and see if that's one of the songs to choose from. That's almost a guaranteed win.
Yeah, it's so much on FanDuel. I don't know.
What color Gatorade, VP?
I'm gonna go with the red. Both teams wear red. That seems like a logical one. Red or blue. But red.
I'm gonna go with purple.
I got traditional yellow. I think it's traditional yellow Gatorade.
You know what's crazy? I don't think the yellow Gatorade tastes that good. But when I was watching some of the players who were mic'd up at the Pro Bowl, it seems like the yellow Gatorade is popular among the players.
It's the favorite.
I was shocked by that because that shit is disgusting to me.
I think almost all Gatorade is disgusting unless you're like dehydrated and dead. The one that I do like is the white Gatorade Frost. Remember when they had Gatorade Frost? I don't know if they still sell it.
That was really good.
Yeah. But the white one was the one that I did like a lot. Happy Black History Month. What else did pulling up the EJ? You had a couple.
The Monique interview.
Yes,
the Monique Shannon Sharp interview.
I didn't see that or hear that. Tell me some pieces from it. I didn't even get to watch any of the clips from it.
I've watched some of the clips. I haven't watched the actual interview.
All right, let me give it to y'all.
Yeah, so I mean, she went on there, and shout out to Shannon Sharp, man. Giving people a platform to come on and basically speak their truth. And she basically just doubled down on the things that she's been saying, discussing how Hollywood is. She's basically talked about, I would say, her few main beefs, like her fallout with Oprah and how she was upset with Oprah and Oprah bringing on her brother that molested her, but then also bringing in other family members that she didn't discuss. And then just like the lack of support she got from Oprah, and then how Lee Daniels had to give up roles because Oprah stepped in and took producer roles. So he gave her main roles. And then like Tyler Perry, basically leaving her behind as far as castings and stuff, and how he, admitted to doing so and all these different things. And then she talked about, the struggles that Taraji had spoken about. She was saying how, I've been kind of saying this has been going on, and just talking about those things. And another thing that she said, she talked about how she kind of got screwed over with the Parkers and the money that was made there. One other thing was definitely with DL Hughley and her issue with him and their show, and how basically she felt disrespected because they were asking like her husband some wild questions, and she kind of felt like, family should be off limits and things like that. She talked about Kevin Hart, her relationship with Kevin Hart, and how he had said he had an affinity for her, like she's another mother to him, and that
Kevin Hart thing was wild.
Yeah, how he was gonna advocate for her, I guess, at some point, and then she stopped hearing from him. So she just pretty much went out there and told what she believed to be her truth. My issue that I've had from the backlash is like it's crazy. And the one thing that she really said that stood out to me, it's like she made it clear. She was like, our community has this thing where we rather just continue to praise people and be ignorant and not try to hold them accountable. Like, yeah, your favorite artist, your favorite producer, your favorite filmmaker, yeah, because they're here for the culture and they're the only black ones, doesn't mean that we can't call them out when they do wrong shit. You know what I'm saying? And it's funny because this is what's carried R. Kelly for so long. You know what I'm saying? Like, we knew R. Kelly was a foul dude, but because it's R. Kelly, we as a community didn't want to say anything for years upon years. You know what I'm saying? But we had evidence-based stuff to go. It wasn't like alleged things. We had the tapes. We had the suits, the settlements, you know, and the information. So I really appreciated that part, because you got D.L. Hughley who's clapping back and saying, Shannon Sharpe is Wendy Williams. Like, bro, you do a daily syndicated radio show where you talk about all type of shit. So now when when Monique gets a platform, blasts you on it, now you want to call Shannon Sharpe Wendy Williams? Like, come on, man. Like, you know, it was just that shit was kind of crazy. You could tell he was upset, and he didn't refute the things that she said. You know, he tried to say she was a liar and saying that, you know, they didn't have that type of discussion about how she felt. And so it was just a lot of shit. I think she hurt a lot of people's feelings because she got to tell her truth. And I mean, we say on the surface, we want to be a community, right, that wants to protect black women and hear what they got to say. Can you really be mad at her, you know, feeling like she's dropping truth bombs? And she said she got receipts. So I don't know.
Right. And the thing is though, right, is that like from D.L. Hughley's standpoint, I didn't see the clip of what she said about him or his response to it either. But regardless, I think what people are upset about is like, oh, well, they get to go on this huge platform or what's becoming a huge platform, and they get to say whatever and it goes unrefuted. Now you could go on Shannon Sharpe's thing and say what you want to say or what your side of the story is, and then let people decide how they feel. Or you got your own platform, so you could do it there as well, you know. But it seems like what a lot of people have decided to do was to just say, I'm not gonna respond to it at all. And then now what Monique said is only what's out there. You know what I mean? So now it's like, you know, some people think, well, you know, silence means that is true. You know what I mean? She said whatever, you haven't said anything, so it must be true, which is why you're not saying anything, you know. The Kevin Hart part of it I thought was really was kind of foul, just because you know, it kind of goes to what EJ was saying about Jay-Z a little bit. And essentially what she said, Steve, is that when everything went down between her and Tyler Perry, she was like, Kevin Hart reached out to her and was like, yo, Mo, I love you. You like a mom to me, you know, blah, 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 blah. And this shit going on with Tyler Perry, I don't think it's right. I'm gonna reach out to Tyler because I'm friends with him, and I'm gonna try to get this shit settled because we gotta, you know, we gotta do better, that kind of thing like that. So she was like, all right, now I appreciate you, you know. So she says Kevin Hart reaches out to Tyler Perry. Tyler Perry basically tells her, God forgives, I don't. You know what I mean? So, my words, not Monique's, but that's essentially how she describes the conversation between Tyler and Kevin. So she says Kevin Hart comes back to her and is like, yo, Tyler says, fuck that, you know, blah, blah, blah. But I love you. We're going to work together. We're going to do some stuff together. I got you. Anything you want to do, you want to partner on, let's get it done. You want me to produce, you know, blah, 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 kind of shit like that. So she said, she was like, all right, bet. So she says she calls, you know, some studio for something she's trying to produce. And she lets them know, like, yo, we got Kevin Hart on board or whatever. And they're like, oh shit, you got Kevin Hart. That changes the conversation now, you know? So she said a couple of days go by and the studio calls her back and is like, yo, we got a call from some guy who's like Kevin Hart's manager saying Kevin Hart ain't doing shit with you. And she's like, what the fuck? So she says she calls Kevin and was like, yo, I just got a call from the studio. They said that your boy called them and said that you not working with me, you not fucking with me, da da da. And is this true? So she says Kevin Hart is like, oh nah. You know what had happened, da 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 da, that kind of thing like that. And he's like, oh, I'm gonna get this straightened out or whatever, you know. And she was like, all right. And she was like, that's the last time she heard from Kevin Hart. That was 2 years ago. So
But
I was
yeah,
like,
she
yo,
also said she had audio because if you I don't know if you caught this when she was saying she played audio for Shannon Sharp where Tyler Perry was, bashing her and doing all of this wild stuff. So I mean, her interview seemed to be very, real and believable, similar to Cat Williams, and they're going on tour by the way. But then you had DL Hughley's response, who, he's a guy very liberal, very leftist in politics, right? And he's on his daily show, talking about shit like this, talking about people should have a platform, supporting black people, all this shit, right? And she brings up how, when I went on your show, you wasn't there, your people was getting messy with my husband. I approached you about it, and you pretty much told me, fuck it. And his response was, no, that's not what I did. We didn't air it and all this other kind of shit. And it's like they have a long-standing beef. And instead of being the guy that he portrays to be daily when it comes to shitting on Trump, shitting on the right, shitting on racist people, to me, it just looks crazy when you're continuing to disrespect her husband by calling him her father. And you're cursing, you're getting mad at her, you're doing all this other shit, but you're supposed to be the guy that says, support the people. So it just looks crazy to me that he's reacting that way, and they got personal history.
so this I hear what you're saying, EJ, and this is kind of always has been my problem with the Monique situation, right? On the one aspect with the husband, right? I feel like sometimes with Monique's husband, she tries to have it both ways. And what I mean by that is that she says, like, don't come at my husband. This is my family. Leave my family out of it, da 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 da. Right. And then when people are like, yo, why is your husband here? She says, my husband's my manager. You know what I mean? Like, why is anybody upset that an artist has their representation with them in a meeting or whatever? You know what I'm saying? And so it's like you can't have it both ways all the time. Now I don't know what was said about her husband with D.L. Hughley. You know what I mean? So if it was some like disrespectful shit, regardless of it's her husband there or her representation there, even if the representation wasn't the husband, like you can't be like coming at people, in disrespectful ways, right? So if the shit was disrespectful, disrespect is disrespect, point blank, period. You know what I'm saying? But
Yeah,
I feel like you can't have
to
it both ways all the time with the whole, this is my husband. You can't come at him, but also my husband has to be there because he's my representation.
Well, I think it's more context to that, right? I think when she's talking about people coming at her husband, I think because she gets a lot of flack and a lot of hate, largely from a lot of black women, because she propels her husband to be this great guy who's also her manager. Even when I was listening to Ricky Smiley show, the first comment that the guy Gary, who's gay, comes out and says, well, you should let your husband be your manager. And Mary J. Blige can tell you about that. And they've been together for years. Like, and to her point, she's like, why do so many people have a problem with me having my husband be my manager and we're a black couple in love? So I think that's a lot of what she's talking about when people come at him. When you're talking about the DL show, they basically had him on there in front of her trying to answer smash or pass questions, like smash or pass questions. Like, I can't remember what the question was specifically, but it was like Taylor Swift naked or like Beyonce, like shit like that she felt was like, yo, come on, like, especially I'm sitting right here, you know what I mean? So it was like wild stuff like that, which is a part of their show, but she just felt like DL should have had a little bit more respect for her and her marriage, knowing that they have a personal relationship. And she voiced her opinion, and what she was saying was the breakdown was DL initially was just like, this is what we do, fuck you. You know what I mean? But he's saying that's not how he responded. But to me, it just seems like I don't think he's telling the truth.
I mean, the DL shit is that's out of pocket, the Ricky Smiley guy. I'm not sure what him being gay has to do with anything, but
Wait, Ricky Smiley's gay?
No, the
no,
Gary guy.
But I don't see anything wrong with him saying like your husband shouldn't be your manager, and I think having family members represent you, especially like once you blow up, in my mind, that is kind of a problem because like if Drew Rosenhaus is your representation, for example, right? He may tell you when you say, "Yo, I should be getting a deal like this." And he may tell you based on his years of experience, his relationships with these organizations and things like that, dude, this is the best you're going to get. So it's either you take this or you walk. You know what I mean? Whereas a family member being represented like, nah, they ain't doing you right, blah, 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 because they have a personal interest in, you know what I mean? And Drew Rosenhaus has a personal interest as well. It's not like he's not being paid. But I'm saying he can disconnect the personal relationship from the business. Whereas the husband being the representation, the personal relationship in the business are the same thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But my other issue
I get it. I think the point I was making with the gay part is to her commentary of saying she doesn't understand why so many people don't like to see black man and a black woman as a couple doing their thing. And when I was saying with Gary, I mean his angle is always typically like saying like shit like that, and it's just like which one is it for our community? You know what I'm saying? When we see Swiss Beats and Alicia Keys doing well, oh man, and Swiss manages Alicia shit. Oh man, this is a power couple. Jay and Beyonce, it's a power couple. This shit just always seems, and this is like from where I gather from Monique and from what I've heard, and when I continue to hear shit like this, it's like it seems like there's an issue with her and her husband. Like you just don't like him, and you feel like maybe he's mooching. I don't know. But I mean, I get where she was coming from when it came to that. So, I mean, I don't know that him being gay had to be so much.
Monique is unhinged. Monique is unhinged.
I don't think she's unhinged.
She's unhinged. She was out last night and she issued apologies. She's unhinged.
To who?
She's done this before. She does this all the time. Like to me, it's I need attention. Hey, love buds. Hey, rosebuds. Here I am. I'm the representative of the strong black women. I feel like, to EJ's point about Jay-Z, that's Monique. Monique is a strong black woman when it's beneficial to her. Otherwise, she's gone. She's complying. Like,
I mean, I think that Monique's problem is that, one, she's been, like she says in a Shannon Sharp interview, and then she said in multiple interviews, that they've essentially labeled her as being this person that's hard to work with, right? And in some aspects, I can see that, right? Because, like this whole, like you guys both remember how this whole thing started, right? With Monique.
Mm-hmm. Which one?
What so all of this started from when she was on Precious, and when it was time to go out and promote the movie, like to do like the media tours, right? And go on Jimmy Fallon or go on with Stephen Colbert or whoever to promote the movie. She didn't do it because she said that they didn't put that in her contract, saying that she was going to be paid to go on this media tour or whatever. And so since they weren't paying her, she wasn't doing it. So that's where all this shit starts from, right? And then essentially, the once the movie did well and then she won the Oscar and stuff, whenever she would go out and like have to get interviewed because she got some notoriety from the Oscar and the movie, et cetera, she would get asked about this, and then she would basically say like, yo, they're not paying me, I'm not doing it, you got to pay me to work or whatever, and then that happened. And then you fast forward, and then the Netflix thing happened when she says they lowballed her for the stand-up joint or whatever. And then after that, it's kind of almost like she got typecast or she got labeled as being too hard to work with, and then stuff stopped coming her way or whatever. And so in my mind, I think there's something to that, right? Where I don't necessarily have a problem with her saying I should be paid to do the tour. But it's not like Precious was the first film or first anything Hollywood that you ever done. And so I'm pretty sure she knew that the expectation was you go out and promote the film when it's getting ready to come to theaters. And so she thought that she should be paid for that. She should have negotiated that in her contract. That's something that you or your representation does. You know what I mean? And so I think that that's part of the problem there, which is how she ends up getting to today, is because there's a want versus her telling them this is what I have to have. Like you can't show up and say, hey, in my trailer you got to have green grapes or I can't do it. And then you don't tell them that, and then when you get there they only got apples, and then you get upset. If you don't tell them that, that probably was a bad analogy, but you get the point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Monique is trash. She oops, sorry, dropped my phone. So last night she's on tour last night. She apologized to Tyler Perry and Oprah, right? Why?
Did she apologize, or was you said she was on tour? It was in a show.
She's on tour. There's a recording up.
I mean, it could be. I mean, we got to be careful. I'm not gonna refute it, but we just got to be careful because it could be a part of a bit where she could be talking shit to say, "I'm sorry, I hurt your feelings." I don't know. So I don't know what what I mean.
Yeah, I agree with EJ. It could be part of a bit where she's like, I'm sorry that I exposed Oprah don't help black people. So it could be something like that,
Absolutely.
So
I think overall, what she said, it speaks to some of the things that Taraji was saying, that what these people are out here doing. They're trying to lowball you. They're not supporting you. They're not, even with the whole thing with the new movie and what Taraji had to do. And she was speaking on how Taraji had to pretty much speak out loud and say we weren't getting treated well. And then Oprah kind of came back around as a producer trying to save face. Oh, I didn't know that was happening. And, we're going to fix this. And, what I'm saying? So, I mean, some of the things, and if it ain't true, and to VP's point, people will take it as your silence is largely true, and when you had DL and his response coming out and just, lashing out and just getting disrespectful with her, about her rather, it just seemed kind of crazy for me in that aspect coming from him. And then dissing Shannon, like, why Shannon got to catch strays when he's just doing his job? You know what I mean?
From who?
DL was like, oh, Shannon Shay, Club Shay Shannon has turned into Wendy Williams. Like, come on, bro. Why you now? If Shannon put hands on your stupid ass, there's gonna be a problem.
I don't know about that. But it is messy. It seems like, so here's the thing, right? Like I feel like the Cat Williams thing it shocked a lot of people and it went so viral that I don't think Shannon Sharpe had Monique on his card. Like I don't think that was his list. She was anywhere on his list, but after he saw the numbers that was done, he was like, "Yo, all right, let me get some more of this." And not only that, but I also think aside from that, I think that the controversy made other people do that shit. So you saw Stephen A come out and he decided on his personal show that he had to go at Jason Whitlock on a whole nother level and get out of character and create the controversy, right? You see Joe Budden talking shit about people on his show even more than normal since the Cat Williams thing. I just feel like Cat Williams came out, did that. People saw how it skyrocketed Club Shay Shay to the top, and people feel like, oh, I got to follow that. Similarly to Stephen A hating on the Cowboys and everyone following that blueprint. It just seems like that's the new blueprint. And that's where I think Shannon Sharpe is right now with Club Shay Shay. And you know what? It is what it is. If that's what he's doing, that's fine. But he has to also know that there's going to be criticism that comes with it.
I disagree with that, and the reason why I'm only from Shannon Sharpe's point of view, not for the rest of them that you named. But the reason why I disagree is that in interviews after the Cat Williams thing blew up the way that it did, Shannon Sharpe said that when he started that Club Shay Shay thing, he has always wanted to interview Cat Williams, and it could be one of the, I don't know, for whatever reason. I don't know if he's just a huge fan or whatever. It's almost like those Earn Your Leisure guys, the one who do like the stock market stuff on YouTube. They talked about when they first started their show, one of the people that they always wanted to interview, that they were trying to get, was Nipsey Hussle. And then when he died, they was like, damn, you know, because that was like their, you know, they said they had like four. I think one was like Diddy, I think Jay-Z, Nipsey Hussle, and somebody else they wanted to interview or whatever, right? And so you know, so I think the Shannon Sharpe thing was just like something like that, where it was like, I've always wanted to sit down and have a conversation with this guy. And then you have it, and then it explodes the way that it does. So I don't think it was necessarily like one of those things of like, let me bring
No,
in this
I don't think
controversy.
I don't think the Cat Williams one was premeditated. I think the Monique one was because of Cat. I think if you sit down and you see Cat Williams just blew this shit up. I just interviewed this guy, let him be himself, and he went, and it was controversy, and he blew this shit the fuck up. Everyone's talking about it. I had the most views probably ever. And you sit back and you start to say to yourself, who else could recreate this? You're not thinking, all right, let me go bring in you know, some other comedian or another athlete. You're thinking, all right, I need to keep this flame going. I need to keep this fire going. And the way that I did that, I need somebody that's gonna be controversial. Monique is gonna be that. She's gonna be it.
He's also been consistently in the wheelhouse of having comedians, because nobody's talking, like, he's literally been having comedians. He's had Steve, he's had her, he's had Cat, he's had Earthquake, and even before that, he's had Country Wayne. Nobody's even talking about the fact that right before her episode, he had Country Wayne. So he's been in the pocket of interviewing a lot of comedians lately. So maybe that's his thing, to be rocking with comedians. But here's the other double standard for me. It's like, okay, even if he's doing that, right, to call him Wendy Williams from the standpoint of DL, where it's like, you do this on a daily, bro. Like, you talk messy and crazy about people on a daily basis. And it's like, it's almost like she said, when you talk about certain people in our community, people don't have a problem with it. But when you touch other people that people feel should be protected, everybody want to cry. Now you want to beef with Shannon and you want to question his integrity, when all he's doing is having a show like anyone else. Gail King, like Barbara Walters. Anybody gets in front of people and they interview people, and they interview people with controversy at the helm, right? So you don't get mad at them.
Well,
and people,
I think he opened up that statement with that, but I don't think that was like a direct shot, like, let me take a shot at Shannon Sharpe. I think he was just saying, like, yo, the people that are up there are using this platform like this. It's just they're using it messily.
I get it. It's just, for me, it's the pot calling the kettle black. Like, you're in media. I could see if you was a person that isn't in media, that doesn't do the same thing, then I could be like, all right, DL don't bother nobody. But DL, you one of the biggest trolls and hecklers there are. Like, come on, bro. Like, I don't get it.
And also, I mean, the only thing Shannon Sharpe is doing, he's putting out an interview that's unedited, right? And it's just like, you know, I ask a question, this person says what they say, and then you feel how you feel about it or whatever, and then we move on. But, you know, people always point out like, oh, well, you know, how come he didn't follow up, or he didn't like pin them down on this one thing? And he's like, that's not my job. He was like, I'm a conversationalist. I'm just having a conversation with a person that we're recording and letting other people hear, you know, and people, you know, take from it what they want or whatever. It's not my job to say this person's wrong. It's not my job to say they're right. We're just having a conversation or whatever. Some people like the conversation and it does 90 million views. Some people don't like the conversation and it only does 800,000 views. That's on you, you know?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I won't knock Shannon Sharpe for doing it. Listen, you got to do it. You got to do what you got to do. Again, he's also, his show Shay Shay, while he's making kickback from YouTube, it's not on a major platform where he's got a contract. So if getting Monique in there is what did it, then, you know, after Cat, then that's great. Now, if he goes on to the next person like Eddie Griffin, who's another one that's going to be controversial if you bring him in there, it makes sense, right? Because that's what's selling right now. So I'm not mad at Shay for that. But I don't. They're like I agree with the cat stuff, and I'm on his side in a lot of it. Maybe it's just I'm just not a Monique fan. And I've paid to see her. I went to see her when she was at USF. She just wasn't funny to me. And I just feel like she's so inconsistent, and she likes to cry like a victim. She likes to run the victim card a lot. And at some point you got to do something about it. I get it. You don't like how you've been treated. Well, go find a platform that's willing to work with you and make something happen. Because where you been? You can't tell me everyone's blackballing you in Hollywood just because Oprah and Tyler Perry don't fuck with you. There's other roles out there. There's other shows out there. There's people that will bring you in because you do have a name. Go make that name. Go use that name to your benefit instead of just trying to use it against other people and saying, oh, they're blackballing me, they're treating a black woman like this. All right, well, we get it. Take your likeness and go make money elsewhere. That's how I look at it. At her but that's a personal thing. I don't expect anyone else to have that same thought, right? But that's my personal thoughts on her and her situations. And of course, obviously there's going to be more conversation that comes from it, just like with the Cat Williams stuff. People are going to react, and there may be some truths that come from it, and there may be some more information that comes out from it that may change my opinion in the future. That's just my opinion today of her, and that's how I've felt about her historically for a while. Let's see. EJ had Monique's ski mask man, not important. Black History Month, JZP speech, Super Bowl. I'm good, man. I'm ready to get off, start looking at some more bets for the day, looking at some more snacks for the day. Figure out what it's gonna be like.
Yeah, same here. We'll get some breakfast. Take care of or not. I guess it's gonna be lunch now, but I'm gonna be eating breakfast stuff.
Brunch Sunday.
Take care of some good old stomach management.
Yep.
Get ready for the game.
Yep. I went and bought two bottles of Thai curry.
From B-Dubs or just like from the store?
No, from B-Dubs.
Okay.
I need the official tissue. Chicken wing shortage is real, man. I'm pretty upset that I couldn't get no wings. I mean, I'm sure I'll find them at restaurants, but I couldn't find any to cook, so I'm a little upset about that. Gonna have to probably do some boneless nugget type joints.
Yeah.
Let's see what's up.
They were on the show was Speak with Joy Taylor and them. Mm-hmm. They were doing like what's a Super Bowl thing you gotta have, and like all of them said wings, and then Acho was like wings, bone in, and then somebody was like, I don't mind the boneless, and Joy Taylor was like, boneless wings are like adult chicken nuggets. It's
That's
like
exactly.
He was like, they're not even wings.
It's true. I mean, I like them sometimes. Sometimes I'm in the mood for them, but nah, if I want wings, I want real wings.
Right.
And I want flats. Fuck them drums. Give me the flats. Flats are easier.
Guy, but I don't mind flats.
Yeah, drums. See, the thing about drums is now with all this, all the steroids they put in the chicken, the leg, the drum meat is so thick and fat, and it's just too much, yo. Give me the flat, yo. I like when it's if it's a small drum, like I'll take it, but they be all big and bulky and genetically modified. Like, nah, I'm good, yo. Y'all can eat that shit. You bite into it and you can just taste the chemicals in your mouth. I'm not about that life. Yep, and some dips, of course. Probably, some buffalo chicken dip or something. Who knows, man? Yeah. I'm chilling.
Classic.
Yeah. All right, that's all I got for today. Anything else you got for today?
Nah. You know, hope for a good game. Hope for a good halftime show, and see what happens.
Yeah,
Do we
shout out
get
to Vegas and all the
do we
people.
get a dynasty or do we get the beginning of the Brock Purdy era?
Oh my gosh. If the 49ers win, we ain't never going to hear the end of that dude's name.
Yeah. I know Brock
That-
Purdy is when this season is over, because he's eligible to ask for an extension this season, even though I think he signed a 4-year deal, if I remember correctly. But when you got 2 years left, you can ask to be extended. I'm pretty sure he's gonna ask.
Yeah.
Because I would.
It's going to be tough. I think this is their opportunity. Like, if they're going to win it, they got to do it now because they're going to have a lot of people to pay.
Yeah.
They got a lot of people to pay over there.
And with him, even if they pay him, it's just an extension. So he still going to have 2 more years on this contract. So next year, he'll still be mad cheap. The year after, he'll still be mad cheap. And even in the first year of the new deal, they can structure it to make him cheap before the real money kicks in. And so you got cheap quarterback. You can keep stuff around them. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
But I'm pretty sure he's going to tell him it's time to write a check. So
yeah. It's the only thing that's gonna suck is for them is if they do that now, and to your point, he's cheap next year after, but they put themselves in a position where they're committed, and then he turns out to be trash. Like if let's say this year was a fluke, you know, or you start to take you start to take those pieces away, and now he looks like, you know, something else. That could suck for the 49ers. So they got to think about that too.
They do, but I mean, it's tough in this current QB environment, you know what I mean? Because, you know, these guys are getting paid crazy.
Right. Or if I'm the 49ers, do I pay if we win, right? I don't pay him. Yeah. Maybe I don't pay him. We got our chip. Maybe I go chase that next thing and pay everybody else around him.
The thing I think that can hurt, I don't know if it'll hurt or help, but I think it'll probably be better for Brock Purdy because the talk around the campfire is the Dolphins are going to go ahead and enter contract extension talks with Tua. I think if Tua gets paid first, it could hurt Brock Purdy because I don't think the Tua number is going to be big. I don't think who knows, you know. Mm-hmm. But I think they could use that to try to lowball Purdy and be like, you're a 7-round pick. I mean, come on, dude. Like, what are we talking about? You got all these weapons, blah, blah, blah. So I think it'll be better for him to get paid before anything happens with Tua.
Well, so Dak's extension is coming
he's basing his right, but that way he's basing his number off of Burrow and Herbert's contract, Lamar's contract versus what a Tua or a Dak gets. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah, this is it'll be interesting to see how they play it. If I'm the 49ers, though, I'm playing hardball. Pause.
Yeah, I think I would try to do the same, but you know, the motherfucker holds out and you're like, oh shit. So
then you learn, is he plug and play? Yeah. Let's see if he gets the Lamar Jackson treatment.
Yeah, let's right? I doubt it.
Right? He was injured. You know. He's got a lot of pieces around him.
He's white. He even got a white name, so they want to make sure they take care of him.
True. And it's in the San Francisco, and he looks gay. So, all right. That's all I got, man. I'm gonna give it to you to get us out of here, so we can start prepping for our Super Bowl festivities.
Yeah. Hey, everybody. Like we always say, make those phone calls, send those text messages, reach out to your people. Again, in my own family, we had a little bit of a scare. My sister-in-law ended up in the ICU on Saturday. And, she's all right now. She might be coming home today, actually. But, so like I've been saying, like we say on the podcast, tomorrow's promised to nobody. So definitely, reach out to your people, text message, phone call, whatever. You got some kind of old ass beef that happened when y'all was 13 because they didn't give you a bag of salt and vinegar chips. Let that shit go. Reach out to your folks, let them know you care about them, let them know you love them, and they'll feel good about it. You'll feel good about it too, because that's all. Like I said, tomorrow's promised to nobody. With that said, man, we appreciate everybody for rocking with us on this week's episode of the CastWorthy Podcast. Like Steve said earlier, you can find the podcast on any podcasting platform by searching at CastWorthy. You also can follow us on any of our social media by searching at CastWorthy. On Instagram, it's at CastWorthy_podcast. While you're there, man, leave us a like, subscribe, follow, share, tell a friend, help us grow the audience. We very much appreciate it. Hitting that like button helps us with that algorithm. So we very much appreciate you doing that. And with that being said, man, I hope that you guys enjoy the festivities today, whether you're here for the game, whether you're here for Taylor Swift, whether you're here just for the halftime show, whatever it is that's bringing you to the game. I hope that you enjoy it. Hope that your belly is full and your heart is warm with the time you spend with your friends and families or whoever you surround yourself with today watching the game. And until next week, we will see you guys. I said that wrong, but we will see you guys next week on another fresh episode of the CastWorthy Podcast. We out. We love you. Peace.